Chapter 597. As they headed towards the front of the dark place, the number of people gradually decreased, and the surroundings became more and more spacious. Other than rocks, there were only rocks. Su Yun suddenly thought of something. He kept the death sword and the immortal mystical scarlet blood sword, and pulled out the snow-white sword that was stored in the sword sheath. Lotus Star Sword. Although the Lotus Star Sword and its sword techniques had been passed down to Su Yun by the old sect leader, the current Lotus Star Sword was still a broken sword. The lotus flower seal on the sword had no color, only a mark. The old sect leader said that repairing the Lotus Star Sword requires more than 7 types of materials, and 2 of them are here in the dark place. These 2 materials are not rare or precious, so if you pay attention, you might be able to find them. Su Yun touched the Lotus Heart Sword's body, thinking about the dead old sect leader. He sighed. Help! Who can save me? Just at this moment, a panicked and terrified voice suddenly floated into Su Yun's ears. Hearing that, Su Yun's nerves tensed up, and he immediately jumped over. 1,000 meters in front of him, a very young child who was not even 1.5 meters tall appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. The child's entire body was covered in blood, one of his arms was broken, and he fell to the ground. He looked forward in panic, and in front of him, a man wearing blood-red armor and holding a large machete was walking towards him step by step. Su Yun was wearing the Longjin's wristband, so the 2 of them did not notice Su Yun's existence. However, Su Yun did not make a move. Although this person looked like a child, he was still in existence with cultivation, and had lived for an unknown number of years. He was not a real child, and those who could come here were not ordinary people. Furthermore, the child was already beyond saving. His chi meridian was broken and his heart was shattered. He probably wouldn't be able to hold on for long. The man in the blood-red armor slashed at the child with his blade. The child's vital point was hit, his head was broken, and he died on the spot. Seeing this, the armored man walked forward and rummaged through the child's body for something. He ignored the soul that floated out from the corpse. Fights and killings could be seen everywhere in the dark place, so it was nothing strange. The fighting here was either for the sake of desire or for the sake of benefits. Su Yun looked at him a few times, but did not pay attention to him, and turned to leave. But just as he moved, the man in the blood-red armor seemed to have sensed something. He suddenly pulled out his blade and rushed towards Su Yun. The blade released dozens of blade chi-s, smashing the stone in front of Su Yun into pieces. The blade chi broke through the stone and struck his body, but Su Yun was not satisfied. The 7th-tier Imperial equipment was instantly released, blocking all of the blade chi. You actually discovered me? Su Yun was shocked. His aura was perfectly concealed, so how did the other party sense his presence? The soul worm on your rock was scared and moved away. Soul worms are lazy creatures, so they don't usually move. They only move when someone gets close. That's why I'm sure there's someone behind this rock. The man in crimson armor said coldly. How meticulous, Su Yun thought. What? Are you trying to snatch the key to the sword prison? Humph, anyone who has designs on me must die. The blood helmet man said coldly, then rushed towards Su Yun and slashed with his blade. I'm just passing by, Su Yun quickly said. However, the other party did not listen to his explanation. His attacks were like a torrential storm that could not be stopped. Seeing that, Su Yun had no choice but to draw his sword and fight. He had just arrived at the dark place, and had already fought and fought. He was a little tired, but in this kind of chaotic place, it would be strange if it was peaceful. At the foot of a huge mountain stood a middle-aged man dressed in a dark green luxurious robe. He had a solemn appearance and an ancient appearance. The man looked at the mountain as if he was deep in thought. This mountain was incomparably pitch black, and there were countless swords stuck upside down on the mountain. Some of the swords were glistening and resplendent, while some of the swords were rusted and incomplete. The entire mountain was like a hedgehog, appearing spectacular and strange. Kacha. The stone was stepped on. A figure was slowly walking towards them. The man tilted his head slightly, but did not make a sound. He did not even look at the person behind him. The person looked extremely hesitant. Looking at the middle-aged man in front of him, he opened his mouth and said in a low voice, "Sword Master." "What is it?" the middle-aged man said indifferently. That person's voice was trembling. He opened his mouth for a long time before a voice came out, young master, something has happened. I knew it when the jade bracelet broke." The middle-aged man closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and said indifferently, "Sword Master, please restrain your grief." The man respectfully knelt on the ground and cried, "My condolences?" The man opened his eyes and said in a low voice, "What's the use of mourning? Tell me, what's the use of mourning? Can you bring Huai Lin back to life? Can you?" He clenched his hands tightly, and his expression began to contort and become sinister. "That person is too vicious. It's one thing to kill Huai Lin, but he didn't even leave his soul behind. Who is it? Who dares to be so vicious? How dare you?" He slowly roared out, his voice filled with hatred and hysteria. It was as if he had been suppressing himself all this time, but now, he could no longer suppress it, and this anger was completely released. The person could only kowtow to the ground, not even daring to raise his head as he listened silently. The middle-aged man suddenly turned around, pointed at the person, and shouted coldly, "Huai Lin is buried in the Wanhua realm. Quickly pass down my edict, issue it to the sword-seeking sect, Star Sword Pavilion and Luo Tong sect, and have them quickly come to the sect to meet me. These sect masters and sect leaders are all my old friends, they will definitely not remain silent. In addition, inform Madam of this matter, and have her invite the experts of the Cloud Heavenly Palace to assist her. This time, I want the Wanhua Realm Lord to give me justice. If she does not hand over the person who killed Huai Lin, I will make the Wanhua Realm restless." The roar resounded throughout the entire Sword Mountain. Bang! A muffled sound came out from the rocks in the pitch-black dark place. A blood-red figure suddenly flew out, smashing into several large rocks and falling to the ground in a sorry state. The figure spat out a mouthful of blood, and his injuries were extremely severe. This person was the Blood Helmet Man who had attacked Su Yun earlier. He was only at the first stage of the Sky Spirit Master, but to Su Yun, who currently possessed 44,000 fighting strength and was at the third stage of the Sky Spirit Master, defeating him was as easy as flipping his hand. "Don't kill me! Don't kill me, at most I'll give you the key." Seeing Su Yun walking towards him step by step, the Blood Helmet Man panicked and shouted anxiously, "I say, are you sick? I didn't plan to touch you in the first place. You were the one who didn't know right from wrong and insisted on fighting me." Su Yun said helplessly, but hearing the Blood Helmet Man's words, Su Yun could not help but become interested, and asked, "But what exactly is the key you are talking about?" When the Blood Helmet Man heard this, he was slightly startled. "You don't know this key?" "I don't know anything, but now I know. Tell me what this key is, and maybe I can let you go." Su Yun used his sword to press against the Blood Helmet Man's throat and said. The Blood Helmet Man swallowed his saliva, hesitated for a moment, then said, "This is the key to open the Nameless Prison. It is said that in the southern part of the Dark Place, there is a nameless prison, there are many treasures in the prison, there are countless profound coin-s and magic treasure-s, allowing one's cultivation to advance by leaps and bounds, but the nameless prison is enchanted by the supreme expert. If there is no key to open it, the enchantment will never be opened, so everyone is searching for the key, hoping to find the key to obtain the treasures, but there is only one key, and it is this. 1. The spirit cultivator that I killed just now is a habitual thief. He can find many things that are difficult to find. I have been watching him since 100 days ago. I know that I will definitely not be able to find the key, but he might not necessarily be able to. Sure enough, 9 days ago, He dug out a skeleton from the ground in front of the prison door, and this skeleton holds the key to open the prison, which is why I chased after him. The man in the blood-red armor said, then handed the key over to Su Yun with a trembling hand. What I said is true, I'll give you the key. I hope you won't kill me. Although I am not an upright person, I can still be considered a trustworthy person. Don't worry, if I say I won't kill you, I won't kill you. Su Yun took the key, looked at it carefully, then moved the sword away and said to the man in the blood helmet, "All right, you can go now." "Thank you, my lord, thank you." The man in the blood helmet crawled up in a sorry state, bowed to Su Yun, then turned and left in a hurry. However, after taking a few steps, he extended his hand and secretly released a bit of profound qi, and the corner of his mouth raised into a sneer. Seeing the profound qi overflow, the key in Su Yun's hand exploded with a dong sound, and a golden iron chain instantly appeared, and with lightning speed, it tightly bound Su Yun's body. "What are you doing?" Su Yun revealed an extremely surprised expression, and stared at the man in the blood helmet. Unexpectedly, the man in the blood helmet laughed sinisterly. "Stinking brat, aren't you being tricked too easily? Do you really think I would hand over the key to you so easily? In order to prevent anyone from stealing the key, I have already made preparations. I prepared a fake key in advance, and it was specially used to deal with you people." With that, the man in the blood helmet did not hold back, and slashed towards Su Yun with his broadsword. The golden chain that bound Su Yun was abnormally strong. No matter how much strength Su Yun used, he could not break it. At this time, with his hands tied, what could he use to resist the man in the blood helmet? However, Su Yun did not panic. When the blood-helmeted man rushed over, a huge iron fist suddenly slammed down, ruthlessly smashing into the blood-helmeted man's body, directly making him dizzy. Then, the iron fist grabbed his body tightly, and a huge force crushed the blood-helmeted man's armor into pieces. "Ah!" He let out a painful scream, and looked over, only to see a huge giant appearing in front of Su Yun. "I knew you wouldn't hand the key over to me so easily. Fortunately, I was prepared," Su Yun said indifferently. Taking advantage of the time when the man in the blood helmet was being held back by the devil bone giant and the golden chain was loosening, he slightly exerted his strength to shake it away, and then activated the profound qi, causing the giant to increase its strength. The giant let out an angry roar, and its strength suddenly increased, crazily suppressing the man in the blood helmet. With a poochie sound, the man in the blood helmet was crushed to death. Chapter 598. The blood helmet man died, and the giant threw down a lump of rotten meat. Su Yun found a space bag, and started rummaging through it. Very quickly, a key that was emitting a dark green light appeared in his hand. It was unknown what material the key was made of, but it looked very mysterious. However, the surface of the key had an indescribable fragrance, and it gave off a feeling of vitality. Overflowing with life? Could it be that it was made by a supreme expert of the profound qi? Su Yun thought. Who cares, since he came to the dark place, it was more important to find his parents first. With the key, he would have the chance to retrieve the treasure in the future. In any case, with the barrier around him, he was not afraid that someone would take away the treasure inside. As Su Yun walked, he stared at the heavenly seeking treasure bell. There were still 7 days before he could use the heavenly seeking treasure bell again. He had to confirm it again. If his parents were still in Linglong Mountain, then they would most likely be here, and if they were not, then he would have to spend a lot of effort to find them. Along the way, all sorts of strange and dazzling creatures appeared in front of Su Yun's eyes, and all sorts of chaotic battles also appeared one after another. Here, Su Yun had seen the cruelest side of human nature, and also the most tragic side. It was hard to imagine that the Wanhua realm above was filled with truth, kindness, and beauty, filled with harmony and the radiance of humanity, while the purgatory below was such a terrifying place. Was this the so-called yin and yang, yin and yang? In order to avoid fighting with those powerful vicious beasts, Su Yun would choose to avoid fighting whenever he saw a vicious beast or a person with a strong cultivation, and try his best to take a detour. This continued for a few days, and Su Yun felt that he had almost forgotten where he was. Ding-ling! Just as Su Yun was stepping on the pitch-black and ice-cold ground, he continued to move forward. Waves of strange bells rang out in front of him. He frowned and scanned the area in front of him, only to see that it was empty. There was nothing there. No one? Was it just my imagination? Su Yun thought, but he still slowed down his walking speed and became more cautious. After walking for about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, a small river appeared in Su Yun's line of sight. The dark place was dark, and the water in the small river was also pitch black. What Su Yun was concerned about was that this was a stream of water, but he could see corpses floating past the surface of the river. You seem to be looking for something? Just as Su Yun was sizing up the river, a voice came out from the other side. Su Yun tensed up. He immediately retreated and pulled out his sword. On the other side of the river was a skinny old man with a skeleton walking stick. The old man was dressed in tattered linen clothes with a bell hanging on his waist. His bean-sized eyes were looking up and down at Su Yun. Although the old man looked very thin and weak, Su Yun did not dare underestimate him. Even though they were so close, he could not sense even the slightest bit of profound qi from the old man. His cultivation was probably extremely terrifying, and he was very different from the people he had met before. "Who are you?" Su Yun asked cautiously. "I'm just a passerby." The old man smiled. "Since we're passers-by, let's go our separate ways. Why did you stop to talk to me?" "I just saw that you seemed to have something to do, so I stopped to see if I could help you." The old man smiled, revealing a mouthful of yellow teeth. Su Yun's mind moved and asked, "How do you know I have something to do? Your expression tells me that if there's nothing wrong, your expression wouldn't be so unnatural, and your eyes wouldn't be so messy." The old man chuckled, his turbid bean-like eyes emitting a strange light. "Even if I have something to do, what can you help me with?" Su Yun shook his head and said, "That depends on what you need me to do for you." The old man extended his hand that was like dry firewood, rubbed his fingers at Su Yun, and laughed. "This old man doesn't do anything to kill people. Other than that, I can solve anything. There's no mistake in finding me. Of course, there's also a fee." As he spoke, the old man laughed sinisterly. After Su Yun heard this, he was stunned for a long time, and only reacted after a while. This old fellow was a businessman. He sized up the old man again, then asked, "You said that other than killing people, you can solve everything else? Is that true?" "This old man has been in the dark place for a long time. Some of the experts in the dark place are quite familiar with me. They gave me a nickname, Old Omnipotent. This old man has his own abilities, knows everything in the world, understands the past and the future. Young man, if you don't believe me, this old man can prove it." "How do you prove it?" "Up to you." The old man laughed, looking extremely confident. Seeing that, Su Yun thought for a while, and said, "Then do you know what my cultivation is?" Wearing Long Zhen's wristband, unless there was a magic treasure that specialized in breaking through the concealment of qi, others would definitely not be able to see through Su Yun's current cultivation. However, as soon as he said that, the old man waved his hand and said without even thinking, "Third grade of Sky Spirit Master, young man, can't you ask a more difficult question?" Su Yun was completely speechless, and also completely shocked. He never thought that the old man would be able to see through his cultivation level. Did this old man really have some skills? It seemed like he couldn't ask two simple questions. If the old man's cultivation was high and he had a magic treasure that could break through Long Zhen's wristband, then this question would be the same as not asking. He thought for a moment, then directly removed the sword sheath from his waist and stood on the ground. He pointed at the sword sheath and said, "Do you know how many swords are in this sword sheath?" This question was not simple. Those who did not know anything about the sword sheath did not know how many there were. This time, the old man knew that he had encountered a difficult problem. He only saw him cross the river and walk towards Su Yun. Su Yun was slightly vigilant, but seeing that the old man's gaze was focused on the sword sheath, he was slightly relieved. Let's wait and see. The old man walked to the side of the sword sheath and circled around it. His bean-sized eyes suddenly opened, and after looking carefully, he actually touched it with his withered hand. Seeing that the old man's originally calm and composed appearance had become a bit hot, Su Yun's face became nervous. He anxiously took out the sword sheath and hung it on his waist, and said vigilantly, "Are you done looking? Do you want me to open it and let you count the swords inside?" "Count? I'm afraid I can't count it." The old man retracted his gaze and shook his head with a helpless smile. "What do you mean?" Su Yun frowned. He felt that the old man seemed to recognize the limitless sword sheath. "There are so many swords inside? If I go and count them one by one, wouldn't that be making things difficult for an old man like me?" The old man tapped the bone staff with his finger and said with a sinister smile, "Young man, you're too unlucky. I was lucky enough to see this sword case of yours before, so I naturally know how many swords there are in it." "You've really seen it before?" Su Yun was shocked. "That's right, this sword sheath is the sword sheath used by the limitless sword ancestor. It is truly miraculous. I never thought that after so many years, I would actually meet this sword sheath again. Could it be that there is some sort of arrangement?" the old man said. But the current Su Yun was already shocked. He never thought that anyone he met in the dark place would recognize the limitless sword ancestor. Could it be that the old man had already been to the Wanhua realm? Where was he now? Was he alive or dead? Where had he been? What cultivation level was he at now? Su Yun did not understand, and felt more and more confused. But this time, Su Yun understood the old man in front of him should be capable. He immediately bowed and said, "This junior has eyes but did not recognize Mount Tai. I have offended you before, please forgive me." "AI, there's no need to be like this, young man. I'm just a merchant, everything I do is just to earn some money to spend. You don't have to be like this. In any case, if you ask for anything later, I will charge you, so you don't have to feel embarrassed." The old man helped Su Yun up and laughed. It was really realistic. Su Yun thought, but he did not stand on ceremony, and said, "Since Senior has said so, then Junior will not stand on ceremony. May I ask Senior, do you know the whereabouts of Junior's parents? What are your parents' names?" the old man asked. Junior's father, Su Shintian, and mother, Shin Shueshua, have left Junior for many years. Junior thought that his parents had already died, but later on, someone told me that his parents were still alive, so I came out to look for the whereabouts of the two elders, hoping to reunite with them. Su Yun cupped his fists and said, his eyes filled with desire. He truly hoped that the old man would be able to tell him the whereabouts of his parents, although the heavenly seeking treasure bell was good, but the location given was too vague. Even if it was a Linglong mountain, it was still surprisingly big. He was alone. How long would it take for him to find them? The old man pondered for a moment, then suddenly took off the big bell hanging from his waist and placed it on the ground. He also squatted down, one hand holding the skeleton staff against the bell, the other pressing down on the ground. He closed his eyes, and his bark-like mouth began to move. Leaping heart and bones move the heavens, raising the sacred koan. There is no flow of dirty water in the dark of the road, gradually drying up the divine. As the awkward words floated out, the skeleton staff in his hand suddenly started to move strangely. Following that, the bell on the ground started to tremble, and circle after circle of grayish-white waves of chi floated out from the bell like ripples, spreading far and wide. Su Yun stood quietly at the side and watched. He knew that the old man was casting a spell. However, what kind of spell could have such a miraculous effect? To be able to capture the location of others? Was this old man really that capable? Who was he? A series of questions shrouded Su Yun's heart like a cloud. The bell continued to ring. Su Yun peeked through the gap and saw a pair of pitch-black tiny feet, as though there was a little person inside. The old man muttered to himself, as though he was a Taoist priest, and his expression became more and more solemn. He suddenly clapped his hands and knocked on the bell, shouting, "Ding!" The bell stopped ringing, and the grayish-white aura that was being emitted in all directions also stopped. Everything returned to normal. The old man crawled on the ground and placed his ear on the bell to listen for a while. He nodded repeatedly, then stood up and looked at Su Yun with a face full of smiles. "Senior, do you have any results?" Su Yun asked. "Yes." The old man chuckled. Chapter 599. Hearing that the old man already knew where his parents were, Su Yun was overjoyed. His emotions suddenly became agitated, and he immediately asked, "Where are the two elders now?" "About this," the old man chuckled. His eyes narrowed into slits and said, "If you want to know, you have to pay first." Su Yun was startled. "How much?" However, the old man stretched out a finger. 100,000 profound coin? All right. Su Yun nodded. No, 100,000 profound coin? The lowest business I've ever done is 700,000 profound coin. The old man shook his head. Could it be 1,000,000 profound coin? Su Yun frowned. He did not have that much money on him right now. If he really wanted to take it, he would have to return to the ultimate martial world and ask for it from Heiyu. It's 10,000,000 profound coin. At this moment, the old man uttered a price that would shock everyone to death. Hearing that, Su Yun was stunned and only regained his senses after a long while. He slapped his thigh and shouted, 10,000,000 profound coin? Old man, are you trying to steal money? This time, Su Yun did not even care about the honorific title. He was simply an unscrupulous merchant, opening his mouth wide and asking for 10,000,000. Even if he went to find Heiyu, he would not be able to take it out in a short period of time. Young man, 10,000,000 profound coin is definitely worth it. After all, these two are the two most important people to you. Don't you want to see them earlier? The old man smiled and said, "What's more, the divine art I just used is not simple. Normally, it is not allowed to be used. Once this divine art is used, it must cost more than 10,000,000. However, I know that 10,000,000 cultivation coins should be nothing to you." Not cheap? How did you know? Could it be that this old man knew that he was the alliance leader of the ultimate martial world's Beiyang region? Then, the old man pointed at Su Yun and laughed. "I can smell that special scent on your body. If I'm not wrong, it should be the key to that great treasure deposit. Take this key to find the treasure deposit, and when you get the money, come to me to exchange for the whereabouts of your parents. Isn't that right?" It turned out that the old man had already sensed that Su Yun had snatched the key from the blood helmet man. "So you already knew?" Su Yun secretly placed his hand beside the sword sheath. The old man seemed to have sensed Su Yun's intentions, and immediately said, "Young man, don't be nervous. I've told you before, I'm not the kind of person who would kill for money. I earn money purely based on my conscience. Although you have the treasure key, I'm not interested in it at all. I really don't see how you have any conscience. How can I take out 10,000,000 in such a short time? You want me to look for treasures? Do you think I can easily obtain treasures just because I have the key?" Su Yun shook his head. "With the key, why can't we obtain the treasure easily? Those who don't have keys are still thinking about the treasures. You really? Did you know that the spell I just used consumed my lifespan? Every time I use this spell, it consumes my lifespan. That's why I asked for such a high price. What's my goal? Wasn't it just to earn more cultivation coins and raise his cultivation so that he could live longer? If you don't pay 10,000,000 cultivation coins, I'd rather waste my lifespan than tell you the whereabouts of your parents. All right, brat, either bring the money or leave. Make your choice." The old man seemed to be rather impatient. It seemed like he only recognized money. Hearing that, Su Yun had no other choice. He took out the key and said, "Since that's the case, how about I exchange the key with you? You can take the key and go treasure hunting yourself." "No, no, no, there are so many people who are thinking about the treasure, and it's inevitable that some people will have crooked thoughts along the way. I told you before that I won't kill, and in order to avoid fighting, I can't go treasure hunting either. Furthermore, I only want real gold and silver, no matter how precious the other things are, I don't want them." After the old man finished speaking, he sat on the ground and chuckled at Su Yun, waiting for his reply. "I really don't know what to do with you." Seeing that, Su Yun shook his head and sighed helplessly. He could only turn and leave, preparing to look for the treasure before looking for the old man. However, just as he turned around, the old man behind him suddenly shouted, "Wait!" Su Yun stopped and turned to look at him suspiciously. The old man suddenly opened his eyes, ran to the back of Su Yun's butt and touched it. "What are you doing?" Su Yun turned pale with fright. However, Su Yun saw that the old man was grabbing onto the order badge hanging on his waist, and started to look at it carefully. This order badge was just a very simple pass, and the person who gave him the order badge was the realm master of the Wanhua realm. The old man looked at the order badge carefully, then raised his head and stared at Su Yun seriously. "You are from the realm tree?" "Not really, but I am acquainted with the realm master." Su Yun asked curiously, "What's wrong now?" The old man put down the order badge, placed his hands behind his back, and circled around Su Yun. "What is your relationship with the realm master? Why are you asking this? Don't worry about it, just say it." "That won't do. I can say it too." Su Yun rubbed his fingers and said without any conscience, "I have to collect money." When the old man heard that, he immediately flew into a rage. "Aya, you actually dare to extort me? Is this considered cheating? Aren't you the same? If you want to know, then pay. I won't force you. One is willing to fight, and the other is willing to suffer." Su Yun shrugged his shoulders. "You." The old man stomped his feet in anger, but in the end, he had no choice but to snort. All right, don't play any tricks with me, at most I'll just reduce your 2 million, you only need to pay me 8 million, hurry up and tell me what your relationship with the realm master is, if you don't say it, at most I won't ask, you won't be able to buy my information even with 10 million, at least 20 million. Hearing that, Su Yun did not dare to push his luck, he grinned. "Old man, before that, can you first tell me about your relationship with the realm master? Only after you explain your relationship will I be able to answer you." "Heh, are you afraid that I will harm you?" The old man seemed to know Su Yun's worries. He shook his head and snorted. "I am not the enemy of the realm master, to tell you the truth. I was an important minister of the realm tree in the past, and the profound technique that I used previously was also a divine technique passed down from the realm tree. Ordinary people cannot learn it. Don't worry, even if you are close to the realm master, I will not harm you." "Is that so?" Su Yun was slightly surprised. He did not expect the old man to be from the realm tree. He thought for a moment, then took out the divine leaf and showed it to the old man. When the old man saw this, he was stunned. "Divine leaf? You should know better than me what this means." Su Yun kept the divine leaf. The old man started to ponder, as if he was recalling something. After a long while, he sighed and said indifferently, "I never thought that you would actually have the divine leaf. Forget it. Forget it, I let down the people of the realm tree back then. Today, I met you who has a close relationship with the realm master." The old man shook his head and said, "The current location of your parents is the location of your key, which is also the location of the treasure. If you take the key and go to the location of the treasure, you should be able to find your parents. That's it, hurry up and go." Hearing that, Su Yun was shocked. He did not expect the old man to reveal the news so easily, nor did he expect that his parents would actually be located at the location of the treasure deposit. Why did his attitude change so quickly when he saw the divine leaf? Who exactly was this old man? Su Yun took a deep breath. His mind was in a mess, but the most important thing right now was not the old man's identity, but the whereabouts of his parents, so he asked again. Where are they? Could it be for treasure hunting? Who knows? If I use this divine technique to find people, I can only deduct a few days of my lifespan. If I want to know a person's movements, I can deduct several years or even dozens of years of my lifespan. Moreover, this divine technique can't be used at any time. If I use it too much, my body will collapse and my soul will dissipate. I can't answer your question anymore, said the old man. Su-Yun nodded and cupped his fists towards the old man. No matter what, old man, thank you. No need to thank me. I also have a favor to ask of you. If you go back and see the Realm Master, can you help me pass on a message to her? Tell her that I, Ku Rong, do not wish to leave the dark place, and only hope that the people of Realm Tree can forgive me. That's enough. So this old man was called Ku Rong, Su-Yun thought, then nodded. If I am able to see Realm Master again, I will definitely pass the message to Senior. The old man nodded and waved his hand. All right, quickly go find your parents. Farewell. Su-Yun cupped his fists, then took out his flying sword and stepped on it as he rushed forward. He never thought that he would meet such a strange old man on the road, and never thought that the divine leaf of the Realm Master would actually give him so much convenience. From the old man's words, he might have made some unforgivable mistake, and thus was punished in the dark place, never to return to the Wanhua realm. But Su-Yun did not care about that anymore. After knowing the whereabouts of his parents, he was extremely excited. Like a meteor, he flew in the air, straight towards the location of the treasure deposit. The Blood Helmet Man had told Su-Yun the exact location before. Although he was not familiar with the dark place, it was still very easy to find the location. It should be this direction. It's going to be very soon. Su-Yun stared ahead and muttered. When they were about to reach the nameless prison where the treasure was, they could already see many people on the road. There were evil realm people, devil cultivator, spirit cultivator and so on. All sorts of strange existences were heading towards the nameless prison, but without a doubt, those who came here were not good people. Among them, there were many existences with astonishing auras. Even when Su-Yun sensed this aura, he could not help but have a serious expression. What were father and mother doing here? Weren't they here to find his sister's whereabouts? Could it be that his sister was here? Thinking about it, Su-Yun could not help but increase his pace. Finally, a gigantic skeleton appeared in his line of sight. The skeleton seemed to have sunk into the sky above the dark place, connecting to the entire dark place space, and sitting on an extremely spacious flat ground. Evil chi leaked out from the surroundings of the bones, and around the bones, a large number of figures appeared. The scene was extremely noisy and chaotic. Seeing that, Su-Yun flew into the air, his gaze sweeping around. In order to make his parents pay attention to him, he even took off his cloak. Father, mother, your child is here to look for you. Father, mother. Su-Yun looked around and shouted. However, the surroundings were extremely noisy. He shouted a few times, but there was still no movement. But Su-Yun did not give up. As he flew, he shouted and wandered around, hoping to attract the attention of Su Shintian and Shin Shueshu. Ha, child, father is here. At this moment, a strange voice came from below. Chapter 600. Hearing that, Su-Yun turned his head to look, only to see a fat, big-eared and sturdy devil cultivator laughing at him. When devil cultivator's words fell, his companions around him immediately laughed out loud, and the ear-piercing noises rang out non-stop. F***ck your mother. Su-Yun was enraged. He immediately flew down with his sword, wanting to kill this group of devil cultivator. But just as he landed, an arm pulled him back. Don't be angry, there are so many Supreme Expert here. If you act recklessly and anger the Supreme Expert, you will only bring about a fatal disaster. A deep voice came out. What a familiar voice. Hearing that voice, Su-Yun's entire body trembled. He suddenly turned around, only to see a man dressed in a plain yellow Blade Master outfit standing beside him. The man looked middle-aged, his skin was slightly dark, he had a goatee, and his hair was black with a hint of white. He was tall and had an ancient expression, and there were wrinkles on his forehead. His eyes were deep, like two bottomless ancient wells, as if they contained countless stories. On the right side of his face, there was a cross-shaped scar, which was very eye-catching. "Father!" Seeing the middle-aged man, Su Yun's eyes became sluggish for a moment, and then he exclaimed in joy. "It's really you!" Su Shintian was also startled. He looked at Su Yun carefully, and realized that other than his pale white skin, the young man in front of him looked exactly the same as his son, Su Yun. Previously, when he was in the crowd, he saw Su Yun flying in the sky. Previously, he did not believe it, but now that he came closer to confirm, he never thought that this young man was really his son. "Father, I've finally found you!" Su Yun hugged the middle-aged man fiercely. He felt as if an intense wave had been set off in his heart. It was difficult to calm down, and endless joy was like honey surrounding his heart. "Yun," Su Shintian opened his mouth. He looked at Su Yun. A trace of sorrow and guilt flashed past his deep eyes. He raised his hand, wanting to caress Su Yun, but his hand was placed in the air, and did not move down. How could Su Shintian have thought that the hedonistic, ignorant, and lazy Su Yun would come here? How long had it been? To be able to come here, one had to be at least a Sky Spirit Master cultivator. Su Yun had advanced to the Sky Spirit Master? Su Shintian simply couldn't believe it. He carefully looked at the young man in front of him, looked at him again, and finally confirmed that this was indeed Su Yun, his son. "I didn't expect this. Who would have thought? Yuner, you actually came here. You've grown up. Su Shintian was extremely moved. His face was also filled with pleasant surprise. Su Yun laughed, and sized up Su Shintian. Compared to before, he did not have much of a change, but the vicissitudes of life in his eyes had deepened. "Dad, where's Mom?" "Your mother. Shueshua. She's at the entrance of the unnamed prison. Quick, come with me and let your mother see you. She'll definitely be overjoyed." With that, Su Shintian brought Su Yun towards the entrance of the nameless prison. At this moment, a large number of people had gathered at the entrance. They were all squeezing towards the entrance of the prison, as if there was something delicious inside. Su Shintian led Su Yun through the crowd and quickly approached the door. Su Yun asked curiously, "Father, why are there so many people gathered here? What are they doing here? What else can we do? Inside the nameless prison are treasures left behind by the ancient supreme expert. They are naturally here for the treasures." Su Shintian laughed. "But if they don't have the key, they definitely won't be able to enter. What are they doing here if they can't enter? Isn't that a waste of time?" Su Yun said. "I told you before, there are a few Supreme Expert S here. In fact, these Supreme Expert S only came a while ago. It is said that these Supreme Expert S had an agreement before, and decided to work together to break the barrier of the prison, and then divide the treasures inside. These Spirit Cultivator S that are blocking the way all hope to take advantage of the chaos, fish in troubled waters, and get some oil," Su Shintian said. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded. "Yuner, why are you here?" In the end, Su Shintian could not help but ask. Su Yun was silent for a moment, then said, "When I see my mother, I will tell you in detail." "Sure." Su Shintian nodded, and then quickened his pace. As they approached the entrance of the nameless prison, they saw a woman wearing a light yellow dress, with long hair and fair skin walking towards the two of them. The woman held a sword in her hand, her hair was tied up in a bun, and there were a few crow's feet at the corner of her eyes. Her eyes were pitch black and full of charm, and a trace of indescribable shrewdness flashed in the depths of her eyes. This was Su Yun's mother, Shin Shueshu. "Shin Tian, is that Yuner?" Shin Shueshu walked over and asked anxiously. Obviously, she had noticed it before. However, no matter what, she couldn't believe that the young man was her son. One had to know what kind of place this was, and who his son was. The extremely dangerous dark place, to the people of the Sky Martial Continent, was simply like 18 levels of purgatory. Any one of the existences here, if placed in the Sky Martial Continent, would be able to summon the wind and summon the rain. Why would his playboy's son come here? Did he have that kind of cultivation? But without waiting for Su Shintian to speak, Su Yun walked over and called out excitedly. Hearing that, Shen Shueshua immediately sized up Su Yun, and when she realized that this person was Su Yun, she was completely stunned. After a long while, she finally regained her senses and said excitedly, "Yuner, is it really you? Oh my God, why are you here? I received news that father and mother are still alive, so I tried my best to find father and mother." Su Yun took a deep breath, calmed the waves in his heart, and said with a smile. Hearing that, a look of guilt flashed past Shin Shueshua's eyes. She held Su Yun's face and looked at it carefully, and said with some sadness and helplessness, "Yuner, father and mother have let you down, why say such words? How could a father and mother apologize to their son? Furthermore, you did not do anything wrong. You did all of this to find your sister, didn't you?" Su Yun laughed. Shin Shueshua's eyes flashed with emotion, and she was speechless. Su Shintian looked at Su Yun, then looked at Shin Shueshua and sighed. All right, there are too many people here, let's go to the side and talk. Yuner, tell us everything that has happened in the past few years, and also, how did you get here?" Right. Yuner, quickly tell your mother about it. It's been hard on you all these years. Did anyone bully you? Mother will definitely help you teach them a lesson. Shin Shueshua immediately said. Hearing that, Su Yun laughed bitterly. Father, mother, I have been living a good life all these years, you don't have to worry, but before I answer your questions, can you answer one of mine? Shin Shueshua and Su Shintian looked at him at the same time. What question? When did I have a sister, and when did she leave the Su family? Su Yun asked seriously. With that said, Shin Shueshua and Su Shintian's expressions immediately froze. The two of them looked at each other, and suddenly became silent. Seeing that, suspicion surfaced in Su Yun's heart. He felt that his parents were hiding something from him. The two people in front of him were definitely not wrong. Although they hadn't seen each other for many years, how could they not recognize their own parents? What's more, they had recognized him. Su Shintian and Shin Shueshua led Su Yun to the side of the nameless prison, and the two of them remained silent. Shin Shueshua's expression was a little pained. Along the way, she held onto Su Yun's hand tightly, as though she wanted to say something to her, but every time she opened her mouth, she would not be able to say anything. Seeing that, Su Yun's heart was conflicted and helpless. Finally, Su Shintian could not hold it in any longer, and directly said, Yuner, this is a long story, it will be very difficult to explain it to you in a short period of time. If there is a chance in the future, we will explain it to you in detail. What we should do now is to think of a way to enter the nameless prison. Enter the nameless prison? Why? Could it be that father and mother also want the treasures inside? Su Yun asked in a daze. Treasure? Even if there are peerless treasures inside, we don't care. Shin Shueshua laughed bitterly and shook his head. Yuner, what we care about is the expert imprisoned inside. A imprisoned expert. The more Su Yun heard, the more confused he became. But after hearing Shin Shueshua and Su Shintian's explanation, Su Yun suddenly understood. It turned out that a few years ago, due to some accident, Su Shintian and Shin Shueshua had accidentally lost their daughter. However, they did not lose their daughter in the Sky Martial Continent, but in another realm. As for which realm, Shin Shueshua and Su Shintian did not say clearly. The two of them failed to find their daughter, so they could only give up. They believed that their daughter had most likely been killed. However, after a period of time, the two of them received news that their daughter was not dead. Not only was she not dead, she was also protected by a powerful sect. Now, she was a disciple of that sect, and her cultivation was not ordinary. When the two of them received the news, they were naturally relieved. However, when they found out that their daughter had entered the sect, they were shocked. We must let her leave that sect, otherwise. When Shen Shueshua said that, he stopped and sighed. Su Yun frowned. Although his parents did not explain many things to him, it was not good for him to ask any further. His parents had their own plans, and if they did not explain it to him, they would definitely have their reasons. Yuner, please forgive us. Back then, we left without saying goodbye, causing you to misunderstand us. We were also anxious to find your sister, and when we found out that your sister had entered such a sect, we were extremely anxious. Su Shintian sighed. Su Shintian's face was filled with guilt, but he did not know that after he and Shen Shueshua left, Su Yun's days in the Su family were getting worse, to the point that he could no longer survive. However, Su Yun did not care about all of this. Whether he lived well or not depended on his own efforts and not on his parent. What will happen if I enter that sect? Su Yun hesitated for a moment, then said softly, there are many drawbacks. Just this point alone is enough to make people tremble in fear. Shen Shueshua said worriedly, it is said that after joining that sect, all of them will become bloodthirsty and heartless. Let me ask, which parent would be willing for their child to become like this? So, your father and I are thinking of ways to save her. Can't you just tell her directly? That sect is extremely powerful. We can't even enter the mountain gate, so how can we meet her? Furthermore, I'm afraid she won't leave so easily. Then what are your plans? The supreme expert imprisoned in the nameless prison might be able to help us, so your father and I came here to save that supreme expert and have him help us deal with that sect. So that's how it is. Su Yun nodded. However, the one who created this enchantment is the previous realm lord. No one would be able to break it easily. It isn't a simple matter to enter the nameless prison. This time around, a few extremely powerful fellows came. They planned to join forces to break the enchantment and divide the treasures inside. Your mother and I are prepared to wait for them to break the enchantment and save that supreme existence. However, I'm worried that some of these experts are here for that supreme existence. Su Shintian said. Hearing that, Su Yun grinned. Father, mother, you don't have to worry, we can just rush in before they break the barrier, right? Yuner, what nonsense are you talking about? If we could go in earlier, would your father and I still need to wait until now? Shen Shueshua asked curiously. Su Yun took out a dark green key from his storage ring and laughed. With this, won't we be able to enter ahead of time? This is? The two of them widened their eyes in astonishment. Chapter 601. Looking at the key in Su Yun's hand, Su Shintian was still unable to recover from his shock. After carefully examining it for a while, he realized that it was indeed the original item. Yuner, how did you get the prison key? Su Shintian was shocked and could not help but ask. I obtained it by chance. Su Yun laughed, and then told the two elders everything that had happened between him and the Blood Helmet Man. When Su Shintian and Shen Shueshua heard this, they were truly moved. This was truly a matter of luck, a matter of opportunity. Good. 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 Great, as expected of my son, with this key, your sister will definitely be saved. Shen Shueshua happily pulled Su Yun's hand and said. Right now, the two of them had a headache and were worried about entering the prison. They didn't expect that the moment their son arrived, the biggest problem would be solved. How could they not be happy? Although I haven't met my sister much, we are still family after all. How can I not help her? Father, mother, you must have suffered a lot in the past few years. Let me share the rest with you. Su Yun said seriously. After we bring back my sister, we will return to the Sky Martial Continent and reunite with Qinger to share the joy of our family. Qinger? Hearing that, Shen Shueshua remembered and asked, Is Qinger all right? She's fine. Su Yun nodded his head, but his expression darkened and he sighed. All these years, Qinger has suffered a lot, and has also suffered a lot. When my sister returns safely, I will definitely treat her well. It had been a while since Su Yun had seen Ching'er, and it would be a lie to say that he did not miss him. He didn't know if Ching'er had come to the ultimate martial world, but it should be very easy for the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace to come to the ultimate martial world. Hearing that, Shen Shueishu immediately laughed out loud. How about you marry Ching'er? Alright. Su Yun agreed without any hesitation, and even more so without any sense of embarrassment. Shen Shueishu was a little surprised. She had seen it with her own eyes. In the past, Su Yun would beat and scold Ching'er, and was extremely disgusted with her. Why did his attitude change so much now? He then heard Su Yun talk about Ching'er, the Su family and the profound sky sex matters, which made him speechless. After Shen Shueishu and Su Shintian heard this, they both went silent. Perhaps the two of them never thought that there would be so many stories behind this, and even more so, they never thought that Ching'er, at such a young age, would have such deep thoughts and responsibilities. A girl like this should indeed be cherished. Yuner, you must not let her down, Su Shintian said in a serious tone. I understand, father, Su Yun said. However, what surprised me even more was you, Yuner, Su Shintian said again. He looked at Su Yun from head to toe, and sighed with emotion. The current you has changed too much, do you know? If you hadn't come looking for me, perhaps I wouldn't have dared to recognize you. The current you is like a completely different person. You seem more mature and steady, especially your cultivation base. Yun what's your current cultivation base? Su Yun was wearing the Longjin's wristband, and the two elders were actually unable to see through their son's current strength. Su Yun laughed. He took off Longjin's wristband, and his qi leaked out. When the two of them smelled the scent, their faces changed. 3rd grade of Sky Spirit Master. It seems like father and mother's cultivation isn't low either, Su Yun asked. Su Shintian hesitated for a moment, then nodded his head. Your mother and I both have the strength of the 7th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. 7th grade, Su Yun was silent. His parents were so strong. Were they really people who came out from the Su family? If he did not have the memories of his previous life, and did not have the consecutive fortuitous encounters with the limitless sword arts, he would definitely not have his current cultivation. Could it be that his parents also had a fortuitous encounter? Su Shintian seemed to have seen through the doubts in Su Yun's heart, and said helplessly, Sai Yuner, I know that you must have countless of questions to ask right now, but the time is not right. When the time is right, I will explain everything to you clearly. Su Yun nodded and did not speak anymore. After knowing about his parents, Su Yun also decided to help. After all, it was related to his sister's safety, and he believed that over time, he would know everything. All right, there's no time to lose. Shintian, let's go to the Nameless prison first. If there's anything else, we'll talk about it after we meet the Supreme Expert. Shen Shueishu said. Yes. Su Shintian nodded, then stood up, and the family of 3 headed towards the Nameless prison. The entrance of the prison was surrounded by powerful existences. They were circling in front of a huge and pitch-black array, as if they were drawing the array. Father, is this the array formation prepared by the Supreme Expert? Su Yun looked through the gaps in the crowd and asked. That's right. Su Shintian nodded his head and said solemnly. This array has been set up for a full 7 months and was drawn by 103rd stage Sky Spirit Master cultivators. These people include demons, devils, humans, ghosts, evil beasts, all sorts of powers gathered, and their power is unimaginable. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned and thought, with so many different powers gathered together, aren't they worried that the power will be too chaotic and cause a backlash? This is what the experts are doing. These Sky Spirit Master experts are setting up formations, and they are synthesizing this power. Su Shintian said. So that's how it is. The 3 of them approached the entrance of the Nameless prison, but at this moment, the entrance had already been completely sealed by the experts, and no one was allowed to approach. Su-yun wondered if he should create some commotion to lure these people away. Just then, Shin Shueshua leaned over and took out a jade-green fan. With a light wave, an intoxicating fragrance silently floated out, and the people who smelled the fragrance all felt their eyelids twitch, but they did not fall asleep. After a while, their heavy eyelids opened again, and they regained their senses. "Mother, what technique is this?" "It's an illusion technique that I learned in the sect, and the effect is even stronger through this illusionary treasure fan. Right now, they have all entered an illusion, and will not be able to regain their senses for a short period of time. However, once the illusion is lifted, they will definitely sense that someone is using it. Let's not waste any time, let's hurry up and go in, while those people don't notice us," Shin Shueshua said. Su-yun nodded, without hesitation. He immediately took out the key and walked towards the door. The Nameless prison's door was very strange. It was a circular hole, but the hole was sealed by a barrier. In the center of the hole, there was a stone sword. The hilt of the sword had a groove. When Su-yun inserted the key into the groove, the stone sword immediately shook, and a small hole immediately appeared in the enchantment. The three of them immediately ran in, and the enchantment quickly closed up. The few experts standing in front of the black array were the first to come to their senses and immediately looked around vigilantly. Someone is using an illusion technique. A demon king with bull horns and armor all over his body said in a low voice. "I can smell the source of the illusion technique. It seems to be floating out from the side of the prison gate." A dog-headed man walked over and stared at the door for a while. His brows slightly furrowed. "The aura has disappeared, but there's nothing strange about the door. What the hell is going on?" The few experts were suspicious, but their vigilance would not let them give up. The Oxhorn Demon King immediately sent people to investigate, and at the same time, sent more subordinates to prevent them from getting close to the door. Outside the Nameless prison, the commotion returned. And inside, Su-yun and the other two followed the pitch-black hole and walked inside. Although Shin Shueshua had only casually used an illusion technique, Su-yun was already incomparably impressed. To be able to paralyze even those experts, his parents' strength was truly not ordinary. "Father, Mother, are you from the Su family?" After walking for a while, Su-yun asked a question that he had wanted to know the answer to from the very beginning. Hearing that, Shin Shueshua and Su Shintian could not help but look at him. After a long while, the two of them looked at each other, and Su Shintian spoke. "No." When the two simple words came out, Su-yun's heart could not help but thump violently. If his parents weren't, then he probably wouldn't be related to the Su family by blood. "I've hidden it from you for so long, I'm sorry, Yuner. Actually, the reason why your father and I were in the Su family back then was because we were escaping from our enemies, and the reason why your sister was separated was also because of that enemy," Shin Shueshua said with a face full of guilt. Su-yun shook his head. "Mother, don't say it like that. Yuner understands that you guys have your own difficulties. No matter what, we will be reunited as a family soon." Su Shintian laughed. "Yes." He nodded and resolutely walked forward. He felt that very soon, he would be able to bid farewell to all these disputes and live a peaceful life that was aloof from worldly affairs. As long as he could find his sister, he would immediately go find Chinger and return to the Sky Martial Continent. He would no longer care about anything in the 10,000 realms. The three of them walked forward. The road was dark and narrow, but after walking for the time it took for an incense stick to burn, the road in front of them forked, and two pitch-black holes appeared in front of their eyes. "According to the information I received, it's on the left. At the end of the road on the right is the treasure that those greedy people outside yearn for even in their dreams. Let's not bother about it," Su Shintian said to Shin Shueshua, then quickly ran towards the left side of the road. Su-yun stood in place. He hesitated for a moment, then suddenly placed the sword sheath behind him on the ground, and quickly followed. The road on the left was still pitch black, but the road slowly opened up, giving off a feeling of suddenly being enlightened. Slowly, a strange and sharp aura rippled in the air. This aura was like a blade or a sword, extremely sharp and suffocating, as if it would cut open the throats of the three of them in the next second. Traces of sharp swords appeared on the surrounding roads. It was extremely strange. As they continued to walk forward, they could see swords made of vapor chi either stabbed into the ground or stabbed into the walls, like crystals or jade artifacts. What a sharp sword chi! Could it be that this imprisoned supreme expert is an expert sword user? Su Shintian said. I don't know. Shin Shueshue shook her head. Su Yun, who was following behind, looked at his parents, only to see that although the two of them said that, they did not reveal any discomfort towards the chi. In fact, Su Yun did not feel any discomfort. If it was any other third-stage sky spirit master cultivator who walked here, they would have long been unable to breathe, and would have fallen to the ground, but he did not. The reason was simple: he had a very special feeling towards this chi. A sense of intimacy. This chi was very similar to a mystical chi that he had mastered. It was the Spirit Lord chi. Su Yun quietly looked at it. This did indeed seem to be the Spirit Lord chi. Could it be that the person who was imprisoned had some sort of connection with the Limitless Sword sect? Su Yun thought. Chapter 602. With that thought in mind, Su Yun walked forward with some apprehension. At this time, a gentle force suddenly wrapped around his body, isolating him from the sharp aura that lingered in the air. With a glance, this power came from Shin Shueshue. Shin Shueshue smiled slightly and said, Yuner, although your cultivation is very strong now and you have already stepped into the saint realm, this aura is not something that can be endured by ordinary people. Mother will help you, don't worry. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded his head, his heart warm. Very quickly, the road came to an end, and a huge light screen once again appeared in front of the three of them. The light was completely white, like a layer of frost. However, in the middle of the frost there was a dark green mark. The mark was shaped like a green leaf, and it was very beautiful. The sharp sword chi came from this light screen. In front of the light screen was a stone tablet. There were words on the tablet. Although it was unknown when it was erected, the words were very clear. The vicious soul is ruthless. Since it has been suppressed forever, it must not be opened. Otherwise, the people will be plunged into misery and suffering. Su Yun stared at the words and muttered. This stone tablet must have been created by the previous realm lord, and the seal was also set up by her. To break this seal, I'm afraid it will take a lot of effort. Su Shintian said. Father, who exactly is the one imprisoned inside? Su Yun asked. A peerless expert. It is said that he has the ability to penetrate the heavens and earth, and his connections are extremely wide. If we can save him and get him to help us, we will definitely be able to save your sister. Su Shintian said. But according to this stone tablet, the supreme expert inside is probably extremely vicious. Don't be afraid, this is just a misunderstanding, Su Shintian said. Su Yun did not make a sound. Maybe his parents had already investigated this person before, if not they would not have come to find him. Shin Shueshue took out a large amount of materials from the space bag on her body and started to draw an array formation. Su Shintian also moved with her. The two of them skillfully constructed something, and in a short while, a strange square array appeared. Although the array had not been activated yet, the ruthless chi that leaked out from the array caused Su Yun's heart to palpitate, and he was afraid that this chi would not be able to be controlled by someone who was above the 5th stage of the Sky Spirit Master. After the formation was completed, Su Shintian stood in the middle of the formation. His hands formed a seal and he chanted, as if he was activating something. Rings of golden light overflowed from the surface of his body. The golden light was like a rope wrapping around his body. Soon, it transformed into a golden helmet of light. Su Shintian took a deep breath. His eyes suffused with a golden light as he stared at the snow-white light screen. Suddenly, his aura sank and he suddenly rushed over. Almost at the same time he sprinted, the grand formation under his feet suddenly disappeared, turned into a white light and shot into his back. When the white light entered his body, it was as if his entire body had been elevated. In that moment, Su Yun felt as if a god had appeared. Dong! Su Shintian's shoulder fiercely smashed into the light screen. In that moment, the light screen shattered, and a large amount of sword qi poured out like a tide. Su Yun and Shen Shueshue were forced to retreat by the terrifying sword qi, and anxiously urged their qi to block. The surging tide of sword qi lasted for about 10 breaths of time before it stopped. The two of them looked over and saw Su Shintian standing in the middle of the broken light screen. The golden light helmet on his body had already disappeared, and he was panting heavily, his face covered in sweat. Su Yun's nerves tensed up. He stared at the pitch-black place behind the light screen, and quietly pulled out the death sword from his back. Shen Shueshue did not dare to be negligent, and carefully looked at the pitch-black place. "Oh!" At this moment, a slightly surprised voice sounded out from the darkness. Following that, a chuckle came out. "I never thought that after so many years, there would actually be someone who would come here to see me. Not bad, but you guys don't have spirit life chi on you, you don't look like people from the realm tree, who are you?" With that said, Su Shintian anxiously cupped his fists and bowed, and said respectfully, "I am Su Shintian, I have come to save Senior." "Why did you save me?" The voice came again. Su Shintian hesitated for a moment, then said, "I have a request for Senior, so I came to save you." "Ha ha ha, I knew it. I don't even know you, so why did you come to save me? How can there be such a good thing in this world?" The voice laughed out loud. Su Shintian did not dare to refute, and still cupped his fists and bowed. "Senior, please help me." Fine, it's not easy for you to come here. I believe you've put in a lot of effort, since you've let me out. I'll let you think about it. First tell me what exactly is going on. If I can help you, then I'll leave this prison. If I can't help you, then I'll be too embarrassed to come out." The voice laughed. Hearing that, Su Yun could not help but think, this person is so honest. Hearing that, Su Shintian opened his mouth. "My daughter accidentally entered the Supreme Sect. In order to save my daughter's life, I hope that Senior can help, and bring my daughter away from the Supreme Sect." "What? Supreme Sect?" When the voice in the darkness heard this, its voice became slightly more serious. "Why would she enter this sect?" "At that time I was forced to do so," Su Shintian said helplessly. "I do not wish to see my daughter sink deeper and deeper, but my wife's cultivation is shallow. It is impossible for us to be a match for the people of Supreme Sect, so we can only do this." I think you should just give up." The voice in the darkness laughed and said, "Once you enter the Supreme Sect, you will be isolated from the world and cut off from everything. In their eyes, there is only the great Tao that can be sought. I think you should just treat it as if you didn't give birth to your daughter." "No way." Without waiting for Su Shintian to speak, Shen Shueshue immediately became anxious. She took 3 steps forward and said excitedly, "Senior, please save my daughter. I don't want to lose her. Please save my daughter, I beg of you." With that, Shen Shueshue actually bent his knees and knelt down. Seeing that, Su Shintian did not make a sound. "Why are you doing this?" The voice in the darkness was surprised. "If Senior is not willing to help, my husband and I will definitely not leave this place." Shen Shueshue's attitude was exceptionally resolute. Seeing that his mother had already knelt down, how could Su Yun still stand there and remain indifferent? He immediately went forward, wanting to help Shen Shueshue up, but Shen Shueshue's attitude was firm. He had no choice but to kneel down as well, and said, "Senior, you are extremely powerful, there must be a way, can you point out the way? Save my sister?" Just as Su Yun said this, the voice in the darkness let out a light sound, and did not answer Su Yun's words. After a long while, the voice came out. "Kid, where are you from? Where are you from?" Su Yun was startled. Shen Xuexue and Su Shintian were even more suspicious. Senior, why are you asking this? Su Yun did not understand. Don't waste words, hurry up and tell me, where are you from? The voice in the darkness seemed to be anxious. Seeing that, Su Yun could only say, People of the Sky Martial Continent. Sky Martial Continent? The voice was silent for a moment, as if he was thinking about something. A moment later, the voice came out again, You come in. Hearing that, Su Yun looked at Shen Xuexue and Su Shintian. Shen Xuexue was still suspicious, but Su Shintian extended his hand out and stopped Su Yun. Don't go in, he said in a deep voice, then shouted into the darkness, Can I go in? I only want him to come in. You are not allowed to enter, or else you will have to bear the consequences. The voice became serious. Su Shintian's face immediately darkened, a glint flashed past his eyes, as though he was dissatisfied with his words. Father is afraid that he will harm me? Su Yun could not help but laugh. Although we came here to seek his help, to be honest, I don't know much about this person. Yuner, if we can't go, then we can't go. If he really can't do it here, then we can just think of another way. Su Shintian said. That's right, Yuner, don't go in. Shen Xuexue also anxiously pulled Su Yun's hand and said. But Su Yun still smiled. He shook his head and said, Father, Mother, you have done so much for my sister, it is enough, let me do some things for my sister. We have a favor to ask of him, so we should trust him. With that, he broke free from Shen Xuexue's hand and walked inside. Yuner! Shen Xuexue called out anxiously. But Su Yun had already entered the darkness and disappeared. Seeing that, Shen Xuexue bit her lower lip, her face filled with sorrow and helplessness. Sigh. Su Shintian sighed, his brows filled with worry. Tianlang, is it really okay for us to do this? Shen Xuexue lowered his head and said. There's no other way. We owe Yuner too much. Su Shintian said helplessly. How should we explain this to him in the future? I can only take it one step at a time. In the darkness, there were endless sword qi. These sword qi were like blades, constantly cutting Su Yun's body, causing one's hair to stand on end. It was extremely terrifying. Su Yun looked around and carefully advanced, the death sword in his hand also slightly tightened. Senior! He called out softly. However, the surroundings were quiet. There was nothing here. It was very empty, but the owner of the voice could not be seen. Su Yun continued to walk forward. He was already very far from the entrance. So at this moment, a large number of piercing sounds came from the sky. Following that, countless qi swords flew over like arrows. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately took out his imperial equipment to block. The qi sword struck the imperial equipment, causing the imperial equipment's barrier to be shaken to the point that it was on the verge of breaking. What suicide witch! What Xiao Huailin! Compared to this terrifying attack, they were simply insignificant. In an instant, Su Yun was drenched in sweat, his face was pale white, and he found it hard to persevere. He raised his head and stared at the direction where the qi sword was flying from, only to see a dim figure appear in his line of sight in the distance. This person held a sword art with one hand and stood there quietly. He was as unmoving as a mountain and was looking at him lightly. Were these qi swords controlled by this guy? Su Yun thought. He immediately turned and dodged to the side. In the instant that he dodged the qi swords, he threw the death sword in his hand out, activated the imperial equipment, and at the same time, activated the limitless sword arts, urging the death sword to strike towards the figure. Whiz! The death sword turned into a pitch-black ray of light and fiercely rushed towards the figure. Sovereign King Sword? Not bad, not bad. I never thought that there would be someone who could control him. When the figure saw the incoming death sword, he smiled. With a wave of his hand, the qi sword dissipated, and the death sword that was flying towards him also stopped in midair. Chapter 603. Such a strange scene had truly shocked Su Yun. Sovereign King Sword? You know that the Death Sword is the Sovereign King Sword? Su Yun was stunned. Who exactly are you? Who am I? The figure smiled slightly. Before I answer this question, let me ask you, where did your sword come from? This. Su Yun hesitated. However, without waiting for him to say anything, the man directly spoke. Did you obtain it from the Limitless sword sheath? You know about the Limitless sword sheath? Su Yun frowned. Who the hell are you? Me? The man withdrew the profound chi around his body and walked out from the darkness. It was a white-clothed, white-haired man. His long hair hung down to his shoulders, and his expression revealed a trace of sharpness. He was handsome, and his figure was extremely tall. However, when Su Yun saw the man's appearance clearly, he felt that he was familiar. A figure flashed across his mind, and when he compared it to the figure, Su Yun instantly understood, and was extremely shocked. Could it be? His heart trembled. He never thought that he would meet this person here. Is he not dead? There's no mistake, this must be the sword ancestor. Su Yun regained his senses, he was already sure. He immediately took a step forward, cupped his fists, and bowed respectfully to the man. Disciple Su Yun greets sword ancestor. Oh? You know who I am? The man was startled, but quickly understood. Seems like you have cultivated the Limitless sword arts, and to cultivate the Limitless sword arts, you must pass the trial. I reckon that you have seen the strand of remnant will that I left behind in the sword space, and that's why you know me, right? Yes. Su Yun nodded. How excited was he? First, he found his parents that he had not seen for many years, and now, in the nameless prison of the Wanhua realm, he actually met the Limitless sword ancestor. Limitless sword ancestor looked at Su Yun carefully, and then nodded his head and laughed. Not bad, not bad. I thought that the sword sect had already perished, but I never thought that there would be a successor. It seems like my judgment back then was not bad. The sword sect is still alive. Still circulating? The sword elder is already like that. If I did not find the sword arts in the tiger's den, I am afraid that the Limitless sword sect would still not exist. Su Yun secretly cursed, but with regards to the sword ancestor appearing here, he was filled with questions. Sword ancestor, you are so powerful, why are you in this prison? Why did the previous realm lord seal you here? This matter is a long story. Limitless sword ancestor was silent for a moment, then said, Actually, what you see now is only a strand of my soul. Soul? That's right. I'm used to traveling around, and I'm fond of collecting swords. As such, I've made many friends, but I've also made many enemies. I don't know how long ago, but I offended an incredible sage. In a battle with this sage, I was plotted against. My soul was scattered, and I was divided into 10 different places. One of the strands of soul was scattered around the Wanhua realm, and at that time it was scattered around the realm tree. Because I am an innate sword body, my sword chi is tyrannical, and when I landed on the realm tree, my soul automatically activated the protection of the sword chi storm, and the entire realm tree was attacked by the sword chi, and the realm tree was about to be destroyed. In order to protect the realm tree and protect all living beings, the realm lord had no choice but to use a forbidden technique to seal me here, and because the realm lord used the forbidden technique, half of her lifespan was consumed, and she died young, allowing the current realm lord to succeed her position, but she did not need to do so, because I would not leave this place so easily. After all, I am only left with a strand of my soul, and the sword chi around me is difficult to control, so I will not leave this place. After Su Yun heard this, he was enlightened. So this was the cause and effect of the matter. What's your name? Who is the current sect leader of the Limitless sword sect? Limitless sword ancestor asked again. Disciple Su Yun, the current sect leader of the sword sect is Old Man Yujian. Old Man Yujian? I've never heard of it. I've been away from the sword sect for many years. Limitless sword ancestor revealed a look of shame. Although I was the one who created the sword sect, To be honest, I haven't been doing my best all these years. I only left behind a sword sheath and a sword art. I am truly incompetent. In order to protect the Limitless Sword Sect, the Sword Elder has sacrificed a lot. The Sword Sect is on the verge of extinction, and he has worked hard to support it. Although Sword Ancestor, you have never cared about the Sword Sect, in the heart of the Sword Elder, it has always been his faith. Su Yun said seriously. Towards the Limitless Sword Sect, Su Yun had always had an extremely special sense of closeness. Although he had joined many sects, none of them gave him this kind of feeling. It was a feeling that was close to home. Hearing that, Limitless Sword Ancestor laughed bitterly. Indeed, it is my fault. If there is a chance, I will return to the Sword Sect to take a look, but speaking of which, the current me might not be able to return for a while. If I do not gather the scattered souls together, I will definitely not be able to return to the Sword Sect. Where are your 3 souls and 7 spirit? Su Yun asked. There are 2 in the ultimate martial world, and the other 7 are in other realms. Sword Ancestor, do you know the exact location? This disciple is willing to help you find it. Su Yun said. I'm afraid this is not simple. I can sense the location of the other souls. The 2 locations in the ultimate martial world are extremely dangerous, let alone the other realms. If I don't try, how do I know if I can succeed? Su Yun said. Back then, if not for the Limitless Sword Arts, he would not have been able to shatter the conspiracy of the Profound Sky Sect and the Su family, and would not have been able to rewrite history, allowing Qing'er to survive. Su Yun knew that he owed the Sword Sect. If he had the chance, how could he not repay the favor? Seeing the determination on Su Yun's smiling face, Limitless Sword Ancestor was silent for a while, then suddenly laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha, alright, Su Yun, since you have such intentions, then I will agree to it. But before that, you still have to raise your cultivation. Sword Ancestor laughed. He then extended his hand and pressed it on Su Yun's shoulder, and closed his eyes to gather qi. Su Yun was startled. He looked at Sword Ancestor's hand strangely. Very quickly, Sword Ancestor shook his head and said, with your current 3rd stage of Sky Spirit Master cultivation, why is your sword art still stuck at the lower 4 swords? At this stage of cultivation, you should break through the lower 4 swords as soon as possible and advance to the middle 2 sword. This disciple is slow-witted. It is difficult for me to comprehend the sword technique. Su Yun said. In fact, the most important thing was that there were too many things that had happened in the past few days, and although the sword art was good, it was not something that could be achieved through bitter cultivation. Su Yun also needed time to cultivate the Divine Wind sword art and the Lotus Star sword art, so the Limitless sword arts had stagnated. Since that's the case, I'll teach you. Don't be in a hurry to leave this place. I'll give you some pointers and help you quickly step into the realm of the Sword Saint. Limitless Sword Ancestor laughed. Sword Saint realm? Su Yun's heart skipped a beat, and his breathing became hurried. However, he did not forget his purpose for coming here, so he did not immediately reply to Limitless Sword Ancestor, but instead asked, Then, Sword Ancestor, about my sister, can you, your sister? Sword Ancestor's brows twitched, and then, he sighed. Supreme Sect is not as simple as you think. Once you enter Supreme Sect, you will cut off everything, and fishing people out from inside. That is as difficult as ascending to the heavens, but since you are a member of my Limitless Sword Sect, if I do not help you, then I, as a patriarch, will seem even more incompetent. Don't worry, I will do my best to help you. You can just calm down and focus on learning the Limitless sword art. Yes, Sword Ancestor. Su Yun nodded. Sword Ancestor indicated for the 2 of them to sit down. Sword Ancestor raised his hand slightly, and a sword made of qi appeared in his hand. Seeing that, Su Yun was shocked and immediately asked, Sword Ancestor has already cultivated the Absolute Sword, the Sword God realm? That's not it. There is only one sword in the Absolute Sword, and it is called the Sword of Ruler. It can transform into an infinite number of divine swords at will, but I have not cultivated to that realm, and I am still at the peak of the middle two swords. Although I am only a step away from the absolute sword, it is still difficult for me to cross over. Hearing that, Su Yun sighed in his heart. With sword ancestors' cultivation, he was still stuck at the middle two swords. If he cultivated the sword arts, would he still have the chance to step into the absolute sword? However, he also had a doubt and asked, "Sword ancestor, this sword art doesn't seem to have been created by you?" Limitless sword ancestor laughed. "It can be said that it was created by me, but it can also be said that it wasn't created by me." "What do you mean?" "Actually, this limitless sword arts was created by a sword, and when this sword created this sword art, I assisted it, which is why there is a sword art." Su Yun was confused. He did not understand what he meant at all. Sword ancestor looked at him and asked, "Where is the limitless sword sheath?" "For now, put it at the entrance of the cave." Su Yun hesitated for a moment and said. Sword ancestor did not ask further and laughed. "Su Yun, do you know that the sword sheath has sealed the 108,000 divine swords that I placed inside?" "I know. I have already taken out several mother swords and thousands of subordinate swords to use. However, because the sword art has not broken through, I have not subdued any more divine swords. Do you think these divine swords are specially used by me to display the limitless sword arts for you?" Sword ancestor said. Hearing that, Su Yun was puzzled. Could it be that there are other uses? Of course. Sword ancestor stabbed the chi sword into the ground and said solemnly, "Actually, their true purpose is to suppress." Suppress? Suppress what? "The divine sword that created the limitless sword arts." Sword ancestor said solemnly. In the early years of the primordial era, the nameless ominous sword appeared in the world, and with a 5-foot sword edge, it killed all the living beings in the myriad realms. Now, many people do not know this secret, because at that time, almost all the living beings were destroyed by the ominous sword, and no one spread this secret. The ominous sword was extremely fierce, and with a single sword, not a single blade of grass grew, and bones were everywhere. At that time, I was only the size of a child, and the appearance of the ominous sword alarmed countless tyrants. The sages all took action, wanting to restrain the ominous sword, but after the ominous sword cleared the 100 realms, its aura weakened, and in the end, it became a mortal sword, without any power. Seeing this, the mighty sages immediately went crazy. Such a powerful ominous sword, it was definitely a treasure, and thus everyone fought and killed each other, just to seize the sword, and in the name of protecting the ominous sword, to prevent it from causing chaos in the world again. However, their fighting once again alarmed the ominous sword, and the ominous sword was activated, releasing its ominous intent, and slaughtered all the sages. When my master heard the news, he took the risk of being killed by the ominous sword at any time and took the ominous sword, using his own life as the price to create a small world to seal the ominous sword. Every time the ominous sword became restless, it would not be able to break through this small world, but I was worried that sooner or later this small world would not be able to hold on, so I started to collect treasured swords from all over the place, and used the sharpness of these treasured swords to offset the ominous sword's aura, completely suppressing it, and thus there was the limitless sword sheath, this divine object, and there were 108,000 swords inside. Chapter 604. Hearing Sword Ancestor's words, Su Yun felt that it was refreshing. He never thought that there would be such a universe inside the sword sheath. 108,000 swords are suppressing this evil sword. This evil sword is truly terrifying, but Sword Ancestor, where is this sword located in the sword sheath? Why haven't I seen it yet? It keeps changing its position, and I don't know its exact location. Furthermore, its shape, sword intent, sword aura, and so on are not the same. I don't know what it looks like now either. Sword Ancestor shook his head. Is that so? Su-yun, do you know what I used this death sword for? Sword Ancestor pointed to the pitch-black sword on the ground and said, Isn't it also used to suppress the evil sword? It does have this function, but it is not just that. Its greater function is to act as the main force, to restrain the berserk ominous sword. In other words, it is a leading sword. Looking at the death sword's chi, it should have already completed the transformation of a primal sword. The current it, I am afraid, has already surpassed a normal primal sword. It is truly your luck to be able to obtain this sword for you to use. Sword Ancestor said. The death sword is very powerful, I agree with that, but in the ultimate martial world, its power might be much weaker than before. Su-yun could not help but say. Even if the death sword released all of its power, it would still be difficult to change the situation. After all, it was not like before, where it could help him challenge the strong. If you think that way, then you are gravely mistaken. Sword Ancestor smiled slightly. Its potential is beyond your imagination, because the sword spirit contained within it is not an ordinary sword spirit. Su-yun was startled. What sword spirit is it? You'll know in the future. The Sword Ancestor smiled mysteriously. All right, don't say any more, let's begin. I will tell you about my understanding and experience of the limitless sword arts. Over the years, to help you analyze and comprehend, you have to listen carefully. Su-yun's expression was solemn as he listened attentively. Seeing that, Sword Ancestor started to speak. On the vast and huge ancient tree there were countless wooden buildings. Men and women dressed in green walked back and forth between the branches. There were fresh fruits on the branches, and some children who looked to be no more than 7 or 8 years old were chasing and playing while picking fruits to eat. The scene was unusually harmonious. Far away, in front of the bottle gourd hanging in the middle of the towering ancient tree, a row of neatly dressed women were walking quickly towards the mouth of the bottle gourd. In front of these women in green, there was a woman in a colorful robe with a pure appearance and delicate eyebrows. The woman's expression was calm, and her eyes were full of spirituality as she looked forward. Her pace was neither fast nor slow as she walked inside. The moment it entered the mouth of the gourd, it immediately let out a cry. Greetings, Realm Lord! On the huge platform in the middle of the bottle gourd, the officials of the Wanhua realm were all prostrating themselves, their faces were filled with respect and worship, and in the middle of these officials stood a person proudly. This person was dressed in a jade-blue long robe. His eyes were thin and his face was long. His expression was arrogant and he had no regard for anything in his eyes. Facing the sector lord who walked into the gourd, he didn't bow or bow. In fact, he didn't even glance at her. Instead, he let out a cold snort. When the officials at the side saw this, they were infuriated. However, no one dared to reprimand this person, as if no one dared to provoke him due to his identity. However, the Realm Master didn't mind. She walked down and walked to her throne. She sat down and her calm expression slowly turned into a dignified one. Who are you? Realm Lord said indifferently. Sword World's all-empty sex elite, Chang Wanqing. The man snorted, his voice was extremely arrogant. Sword World? All-empty sect? Realm Lord's slender and beautiful eyebrows frowned slightly. What are the people from all-empty sect doing here? To seek justice from you, Realm Lord. The envoy took out a broken jade disc from somewhere and threw it on the ground, then said coldly, My sect master's son, Xiao Huailin, died tragically in the Wanhua realm a few days ago, although the sect master knows that this matter has nothing to do with you, Realm Lord, but the sect master has ordered us to capture the murderer, and as the Realm Lord of the Wanhua realm, you must know who the person who killed the young master is, so the sect master ordered me to come here and request Realm Lord to quickly hand over the murderer. His words were sonorous and powerful, extremely arrogant, causing people to be unable to help but become angry. The group of officials all pointed at the man, but the other party came from the Sword World, and even more so from the famous all-empty sect of the Sword World, so many people did not dare to be angry. However, Realm Lord's beautiful white goose neck tilted slightly, and asked curiously, "Who is Xiao Huailin?" The person was immediately at a loss for words, and only after a long while did he roar in a low voice, "Xiao Huailin is the sect master's son. You don't even know my young master? Speaking of which, I don't even know the name of your sect master. How could I possibly know his son?" The Realm Lord said indifferently. "You." The man was so angry that he almost jumped up. Looking at the Realm Lord's calm yet beautiful face, he took a few deep breaths, recovered, and then said coldly, "Regardless of whether you know who my young master is or not, today, you must hand over the murderer who killed my young master, or else the Wanhua realm will not be at peace. I don't know who killed Xiao Huailin, although I have always advocated for peace, but in some corners of the Wanhua realm, there will always be fights, and I have never cared about the outcome of the fights, so if you want to find the murderer, I am afraid you will have to investigate it yourself. I am unable to help you." The Realm Lord said indifferently. "Can't help?" The man's eyes slowly narrowed, and a cold light flashed past his eyes. "Are you joking with me? Everyone knows that the Wanhua Realm Lord is proficient in the forbidden reincarnation technique, and is able to know everything about the past and the future. You only need to use the forbidden technique, and you will know who killed my young master. How could you not know? You already said that it's a forbidden technique, so how can you use it so casually? This goes against the laws of nature." The Realm Lord shook her head. The man's face turned ruthless. "So you're saying that you're not willing to hand over the murderer? I've already said it before, if you want to find the murderer, you can only investigate it yourselves. I can allow your all-empty sect to enter the Wanhua realm." Good. Wow. A small Wanhua realm is also extremely arrogant now. The man sneered, then flicked his sleeve and snorted. "Since that's the case, then forget it. Forget it. Since you are unwilling to hand over the murderer, I can only go back and report, but don't think that this matter will be settled just like that. Just you wait. Since my young master has lost his life in the Wanhua realm, no matter what, the sect leader will seek justice for young master." After he finished speaking, he turned around and left without looking back. He came arrogantly and left arrogantly. From the beginning to the end, he had always placed himself in the position of a superior. Damned bastard! Finally, someone could not hold it in any longer and suddenly shouted, "Stop right there! Do you think this is a place where you can come and go as you please?" The group of officials were completely enraged. All of them roared in anger, and a few people with extraordinary cultivation even wanted to make a move to keep this person here. Although this person claimed to be an elite, his cultivation was not as high as these officials. Seeing that they were about to make a move, he felt guilty. "Everyone, don't be impatient. Let him go." Just then, the realm master above spoke softly, stopping the angry officials. Seeing that, the all-empty sect secretly heaved a sigh of relief, but he couldn't help but snort and swagger out of the gourd. A sturdy old man with a full beard shifted his gaze away from the gourd and looked at the realm master. He said with slight annoyance, "Realm master, why did you let him leave just like that? This person's attitude is so vile, we have to teach him a lesson." "That's right, the people of the all-empty sect are too arrogant, although my Wanhua realm has never caused trouble, but this time they have provoked us. That dog's son Xiao Huailin, we have never heard of him. He died in the Wanhua realm, why is he looking for us? This is simply bullying." Everyone was furious. However, there were also some people who were deeply worried. "Everyone, I'm afraid things aren't as simple as you think," Prime Minister Rong Myuk said indifferently as he held on to his staff. "Prime Minister Rong, what do you mean?" Everyone looked at him in confusion. Rong Myuk could not help but shake his head. "Sword World is a powerful world that focuses on fighting and killing. The people inside are all much stronger than us, the Wanhua realm, and they believe that people should continue to fight and kill in their entire lives. Although the All-Empty sect is not the biggest sect in the sword world, the wife of the All-Empty sect leader, Phoenix Lady, is closely related to the incomparably powerful Cloud Heavenly Palace of the sword world. The relationship between the All-Empty sect is complicated. If the one who dies is the sect leader's wife, I'm afraid that we will not only have to face the All-Empty sect. When the crowd heard this, some of their expressions changed. So what? Could it be that they will destroy our Wanhua realm? Do they have the ability to do that? Furthermore, our Wanhua realm does not have any external help? Realm Master, if the people of the All-Empty sect want to behave atrociously, then let them come. Why should we be afraid of them? A short-haired woman shouted. The ministers present discussed animatedly, feeling that it was unfair. However, the Realm Master sat upright, and did not say a single word from start to finish. Perhaps everyone has overlooked one thing. Just then, Rong-Muk spoke again. Everyone who was discussing turned to look at him. He opened his mouth slightly and said indifferently, "This time, we might not only be dealing with the people of the sword world, but also the people of the true devil realm. If I am not wrong, the Realm Master is worried that the people of the true devil realm will take advantage of the situation and enter." These words had hit the nail on the head. When the group of people heard this, their expressions all changed. Those who were still vowing to teach the people of All-Empty sect a lesson also fell silent. The Wanhua realm had always been the target of the other realms spying. The All-Empty sect was coming aggressively. It was impossible for the people of the true devil realm to not have any news. If it was really as Rong-Muk had said, then the Wanhua realm would soon change. Chapter 605. The group of officials retreated, leaving only the Realm Master and the senile Prime Minister Rong-Muk in the huge gourd. The Realm Master lowered her head in thought. Her beautiful and clear face was like a tranquil lily, slightly curved eyelashes, pink lips, exquisite nose, a head of black and beautiful long hair hanging down. Her skin that could be broken by the wind seemed to be able to squeeze out water with a pinch. Her appearance was truly peerless. Who knew how many spirit cultivators were worried about her after seeing the Realm Master's true appearance? The boring path of cultivation had smoothed out their temperament, but when they saw the Realm Master's beautiful face, their gradually dimming temperament suddenly rose again. "Why aren't you leaving yet?" Just then, the Realm Master raised her beautiful head and asked with a clear and melodious voice. Rong-Muk thought for a moment, then cupped his fists and said respectfully, "Realm Master, do you already know who killed Xiao Weilin?" The Realm Master was silent for about 7 to 8 breaths of time, then said indifferently, "We are the children of nature. In this world, what can escape the eyes of nature? I already know who this person is." "Then what does the Realm Master mean? I need to negotiate with him." The Realm Master said indifferently, "The living beings of the Wanhua realm are innocent. I do not wish for them to suffer an undeserved calamity, although handing over this person can settle the matter, but I also have to respect this person. I cannot casually kill him." With that, the Realm Master stood up and walked out of the gourd. Rong-Muk bowed and cupped his fists, respectfully sending him off. Tap! A crisp sound rang out in the gloomy cell. Su-Yun felt as if something had exploded in his body. His abdomen was hot, but he did not feel uncomfortable. Instead, a dense warmth floated up. His consciousness began to slowly fade, and he seemed to have fallen into a strange illusion as he gradually fell asleep. But very quickly, he opened his eyes again. However, the moment he opened his eyes, everything around him was no longer the pitch-black prison. Instead, it was replaced by a vast blue sky, and at that moment, Su-Yun and Sword Ancestor were standing on top of the blue sky. Su-Yun looked around, his eyes filled with shock. "Sword Ancestor, where is this?" Su-Yun asked in shock. "This is my illusion space." The Sword Ancestor laughed. "Illusion space? That's right, I helped you wash your tendons and integrate the profound chi in your body. I don't know how you've been through all these years, but there are too many profound qi mixed in your body. Although there are many spirit essences, they are all in a mess. Devil qi, evil qi, swift wind spirit qi, pure divine spirit qi. If so many profound qi were to flow through the qi meridian at the same time, it would definitely cause the qi meridian to explode, causing your cultivation to drop greatly. But you have a divine object in your body, and if not for the protection of this divine object, you would have been crippled long ago. Divine item? Could it be the Monarch Occult Force? Monarch Occult Force? Good name, this power can be called divine power. Now you don't have to worry, the profound qi and spirit core in your body have already been properly integrated by me, Su Yun. Before you cultivate the sword arts, I will teach you a set of chants. Every time you advance a stage of cultivation, you will follow the chants to integrate the profound strength in your body. After this integration, your profound qi and cultivation will become more stable and sturdy. This disciple will remember, Su Yun quickly said. The sword master nodded, and then said in a clear voice, the number of fire meridians is 9, the number of earth meridians is 7, the number of gold meridians is 5, the number of wood meridians is 3, the number of water meridians is 1, the number of gold meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 3, the number of water meridians is 1, the number of gold meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 1, the number of water meridians is 1, the number of gold meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 1, the number of water meridians is 1, the number of gold meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 1, the number of water meridians is 1, the number of gold meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 1, the number of water meridians is 1, the number of gold meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 1, the number of wood meridians is 1, the number of water meridians is 1, the number of wood meridi. The sword ancestor spoke very carefully and sat cross-legged in the blue sky, speaking while using his luck. Seeing that, Su Yun did not dare to delay, and immediately followed suit. This was not a complicated chant, but it was extremely exquisite. Almost no spirit cultivator would integrate their own profound qi, and if they advanced, they would advance, and if they obtained power, they would obtain power. They would never care about it, and at most, they would harmonize the profound qi and calm it down. After integrating for an unknown period of time, Su Yun opened his eyes, memorizing the chant in his heart. It was like memorizing a poem. It was not difficult. You have already memorized this chant. Next, I will guide you in the cultivation of the twin swords in the limitless sword arts. But before that, Su Yun, you have to understand, no profound technique can make you immediately learn it. The role of a teacher is only to enlighten you, a guide. To truly grasp this profound technique, you still need to comprehend and cultivate bitterly. Do you understand? Su Yun understands. All right. The sword ancestor nodded, and then looked into the distance. He looked into the distance, and very quickly, a large number of magical birds flew over from afar. These birds were the size of a palm, and they covered the sky and earth like locusts. This was the sword ancestor's imaginary world. He could imagine anything out of thin air, and these birds were naturally his as well. He waved his hand slightly, and a seal floated in his palm. Following that, the powerful pure divine spirit qi once again overflowed, rushing into the sky, converging together, transforming into a gigantic hand that covered the sky, and under the sword ancestor's dance, it flew towards the group of birds. Su Yun watched carefully, not daring to breathe. The huge hand covered all the birds and then suddenly pulled back. So a large number of transparent chi phase swords were pulled out from the bodies of every bird. There were countless of them, densely packed, and there were as many birds as there were swords. They flew back and revolved crazily around Su Yun and the sword ancestor. Not only were the number of swords astonishing, every single sword had an incomparably tyrannical aura, and if they were to touch it, their hands would be broken. The first of the middle two swords is the sword of all spirit. When you reach the realm of the middle two swords, you will be in the realm of the sword saint. At this stage, you can control as many swords as you want. You can draw spiritual swords from stone, wood, grass, and flowers to fight for you. These swords all have spirituality and will submit to you. They are very powerful, but you have to use them carefully, because these so-called swords of energy are actually the essence, chi, and spirit of all spirits. It is best if they are not damaged, but you must return them after using them. The second sword of the middle two swords, the sword of stars. The sword ancestor snapped his fingers, and the chi swords around him suddenly dissipated, transforming into wisps of smoke that floated into the bodies of the birds, and the birds also disappeared. After that, he raised his hand and waved it towards the sky. The spirit lord chi in his hand exploded out again, but this time, it was not much, it was just a ray of light. The light shot into the sky and disappeared. Su Yun stared at the sky, only to see that there was no change in the sky. Just as Su Yun thought that the sword ancestor had failed, a strange phenomenon occurred. The blue sky around the two of them suddenly disappeared and was replaced by endless stars. The two of them seemed to be in the universe, and bright starlight flickered in all directions. Don't use this sword easily. It's a sword that will exhaust you, a sword that will push you to the brink of death. No matter how much cultivation you have or how much profound energy you have, once you use it, the profound energy in your body will be immediately sucked dry, and the power of this sword will be based on the amount of profound energy in your body. After the sword ancestor finished speaking, Su Yun felt all the hair on his body stand up. A sharp intent that he had never felt in his life flew from all directions. His body couldn't help but tremble, cold sweat flowed down his face, and his breathing became more and more hurried. An indescribable sense of fear rose from his heart. Wung wung wung, a strange sound rang in his eardrums. Su Yun opened his eyes wide and looked around, only to see that all the stars in the distance had suddenly lit up. They flickered crazily, like indicator lights, flickering between light and dark. The pressure that each star gave Su Yun was not the slightest bit inferior to the feeling of Xiao Huailin's fire dragon. Finally, the stars were no longer dim. They began to shine brighter and brighter, more and more dazzling. It was as if the entire universe was going to be illuminated by them. Boom! The first star exploded with a burst of sword chi, only to see a light sword flying over like a meteor, rushing towards Su Yun. In that moment, Su Yun felt his vision blur. It was impossible to catch the light. Boom! 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 The second star exploded. Then the third. The fourth. In the distance, the sword flow was like a falling star. At this moment, the so-called planet was like a piece of paper. It was as if with just a thought, it would be completely smashed into powder by the endless star sword. Su Yun felt his eardrums completely explode, his head buzzing. Following that, he was completely surrounded by the fierce and sharp star-light sword. At this moment, he actually discovered that the fighting spirit in his heart had been completely extinguished. He could not produce the slightest bit of fighting spirit. He was completely suppressed and conquered by the sword force emitted by the sword. This was a power that completely belonged to the universe. Could a person really use it? Perhaps only a god would be able to control such a terrifying power. The sword ancestor seemed to have noticed Su Yun's abnormality. With a slight snap of his fingers, the surrounding phenomenon suddenly dissipated, the stars disappeared, the sword intent disappeared, the terrifying divine power disappeared, and the two of them returned to the blue sky. Su Yun only managed to escape from the extremely painful feeling of oppression after a long while. He heaved a sigh of relief and panted with all his might. His face was extremely pale, and sweat dripped down like beans. Your cultivation is still shallow. It is enough for you to obtain the first sword. The second sword still needs to be slowly honed. This is just an introduction to you, don't worry too much about it. The sword ancestor said. Disciple understands. Su Yun exhaled, and said in a slightly embarrassed manner. Oh right, there's something I forgot to tell you. At this time, the sword ancestor suddenly said. What? That is, right now I am only in the state of a strand of soul. The scene you saw just now was based on the strength of this strand of soul. In other words, the real situation will be different. The higher the cultivation, the greater the power of the limitless sword arts, and vice versa. Therefore, when you are cultivating the sword arts, do not neglect your cultivation. Without your cultivation as a foundation, no matter how strong the sword arts are, they are just useless. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded his head seriously. Chapter 606. The limitless sword arts had always been the foundation of Su Yun's fighting. Although the sword art only had a total of 7 moves, but at the level of the middle 2 swords, it was already extremely difficult to comprehend it thoroughly. If there was no one to guide Su Yun, it would be very difficult for him to step into the middle 2 swords level in his entire life. After all, the Sword Elder had said that learning the middle 2 swords and the upper sword was just a legend. It could be said that the Lotus Star sword art's thoughts were rather similar to it. Su Yun had cultivated the Lotus Star sword art and had experienced a lot, so it was not like he did not have any clues about comprehending the first sword of the middle 2 swords. The sword ancestor used the illusion to transform into a large number of birds. These birds were like 100 birds looking up to the phoenix, revolving around Su Yun. The magical scene was astonishing. Su Yun calmed his mind, closed his eyes and thought. The profound qi in his body slowly flowed like a small stream, circulating around his entire body. The spirit core opened slightly, and his internal organs released a sparkling and translucent luster. It was extremely mysterious. As for Su Yun himself, he had sunk into a state of meditation. This was the sword ancestor's illusion space, and he himself wanted to establish another illusion space. The first sword of the limitless sword arts was to use the myriad spirits as a sword, and the most intuitive way to obtain the myriad spirits' sword was to bridge and communicate with the myriad spirits, understand and grasp the myriad spirits, and only then could one obtain the sword. Whether it was a stone, a tree, a flower, or a grass, they all had spirituality. It was just that they were strong and weak. The sword that took out the stone could break through armor and attack the body. The sword that took out the holy beast could roar at the 9 heavens and slash the heaven and earth. Limitless Sword Ancestor continued to talk to Su Yun, regardless of whether Su Yun could hear him or not. He muttered to himself, and continued to speak. Outside the prison, Shen Xueshue and Su Shintian were still anxiously waiting. It's been so long, why hasn't Yuner come out yet? Shen Xueshue, who was restless, said anxiously. There's no movement inside, maybe Yuner is talking to the supreme expert about something. Let's wait patiently, and not allow them to come out immediately. Su Shintian said solemnly. But, husband, the people in this dark place are all extremely evil people. The people in this nameless prison are probably not good people. If something happens to Yuner because of this, you let me. Shen Xueshue was a little agitated, and couldn't even speak. Su Shintian's brows were tightly furrowed, and his expression was somewhat serious. Shue, I know you care about Yuner a lot, but as matters stand, we have no other choice. Yuner is no longer the same as before. He is no longer the mischievous child from back then. The current him also has a cultivation of the 3rd stage of the Sky Spirit Master. If the supreme expert inside really wants to harm him, at least with his methods, he might be able to hold on for a while, and we will definitely hear the commotion. But if Yuner were to be harmed by the other party, just like that, it would be useless for us to go in, and we might even fall into the other party's ambush, so waiting here is the best choice. Hearing that, Shen Xueshue opened his mouth, but did not say anything. Su Shintian walked over, hugged his wife, and comforted her. Don't worry, Yuner is blessed by the heavens, he will be fine. We should think positively, As long as we have the help of this supreme expert, we will have the capital to fight against the supreme sect. Although the supreme sect is an extremely special sect, they are not invincible in the world. We will definitely save Luluo. Shun Shueshua bit her lips and nodded lightly. Inside the prison, Su Yun and Sword Ancestor were still sitting quietly. The current Su Yun felt that he was not in the dark prison, nor did he exist in the Sword Ancestor's illusion space. The current him was completely immersed in a world that he had created. There was nothing in this world, only Su Yun and a small blade of grass. The green grass grew on the ground. It was lush green and full of life. Su Yun stood quietly in front of the grass and looked at it with a solemn expression. In your eyes, what is it? It's just a blade of grass. Then in its eyes, what do you think you are? Me? To it, I am naturally an unreachable god. If I want to crush it, I can crush it. Then, there won't be a bridge between the two of you, and there won't be any opportunity or transformation. What you need to do is to put yourself on the same level as it, and not let it crawl on the ground while you stand high above it. Treat it as a person with the same strength as you, or treat yourself as a stalk of grass that is similar to it. Any living being has an indelible nature, and if you do not understand it, and are not on the same level, there will always be a gap between you and it. In my opinion, everything in this world is my friend. I am very ordinary. No matter how high my cultivation is, I am just a living being on this earth, under the sky, no different from them. They will live and die, they will flourish and wither, and so will I. In the eyes of people, a stone and a blade of grass are actually the same, but in reality, the power of a stone is far greater than a blade of grass, and in the eyes of the world, how can we be special? These words floated in Su Yun's mind. He listened quietly, thought quietly, and comprehended quietly. His heart was as still as water, without the slightest bit of distracting thoughts. But how long did it take? Perhaps it was as long as a century. Or perhaps it was just a breath of time. Su Yun slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, the blade of grass in his eyes had already withered. The leaves were yellow, and the entire blade of grass was wilted and bent. There was no longer any exuberant business. Su Yun looked calmly, as if he was feeling the current state of the blade of grass, experiencing the pain of its imminent death, and recalling the pride and satisfaction of its prosperous moments with it. In this boundless pale world, one person and one blade of grass were frozen just like that. Su Yun did not move at all, and the withered grass was still like a painting. What are you doing? Unknowingly, the withered grass had disappeared, and a youth dressed in green sat in front of Su Yun, smiling. What are you doing now? Su Yun slowly opened his eyes and asked with a smile. I have nothing to do. The youth lazily lay on the ground, looking at the sky and crossing his legs. Su Yun did not say anything. Seeing that Su Yun did not speak, the youth pouted, then turned his head and pointed at a towering tree that had appeared out of nowhere and asked, How long do you think it will take for me to be as towering as that tree? Why do you want to be like the big tree? Because it looks very powerful. Do you think you're weak? Of course. The youth's expression froze, and then his mood dropped. I'm very weak. I'm useless. I feel that I'm the worst living being in this world. What's the difference between me and not me? I was born to be crushed and trampled on by others. His expression was dejected and disappointed. As he spoke, his voice gradually weakened, and his body slowly became transparent. In Su Yun's eyes, the withered grass was becoming more and more withered. Then, is it just to show your value that you hope to grow up faster and become stronger? Su Yun asked. If you can't show your value, who would know that you have come to this world? The youth said in pain. But, Su Yun said, you are wrong. There are countless living beings that know that you have come to this world. Furthermore, they are by your side. They have always been silently watching you, envious of you, praying that one day they can be like you, just like you and that big tree. Hearing that, the youth's expression froze. He raised his head and looked at Su Yun in shock. Su Yun grabbed the sand on the ground and said indifferently, "They are also always envious of you, hoping that one day they can be as prosperous as you, huge and powerful." The youth was completely stunned. "You envy the big tree, but in fact the big tree envies the blue sky even more, and the blue sky envies something even more vast and powerful. Nothing can satisfy you, and nothing can satisfy you, even me. However, I will not envy others. As long as I live a good life and do my best, everything will be up to fate." Su Yun laughed softly, his expression calm. This was indeed his opinion. He would never envy other people's cultivation. The reason why he kept on raising his cultivation was to protect the people around him from harm. The youth quietly looked at Su Yun, looked at him, and continued to look at him. After an unknown period of time, he smiled, a warm smile that warmed people's hearts. "Thank you," he said softly, the green robe on his body becoming brighter and brighter. Su Yun looked at the green and felt his vision blur. Unknowingly, the young man had disappeared, and what appeared in front of him, it was a stalk of grass that was full of vitality. It gently trembled, as if it was telling Su Yun something. Su Yun chuckled, extended his hand and touched the grass, only to see that the surface of the grass was suffused with waves of green light, and an indescribable spirit aura seeped out from within. This spirit aura was extremely magical, like a soul, like a spirit aura, so exquisite that it made people sigh with emotion. At this moment, Su Yun completely understood. The first sword of the limitless sword arts actually only meant one thing: all things are equal and fair, no one is superior, and no one is inferior. Whether it was a grain of sand or a mountain, there was no essential difference. And under equality, all living things in this world were like him, all of them were his friends. Towards friends, they were willing to help, and they were willing to fight side by side with him. For those who obtained all things, what else could they not do? At this moment, Su Yun's hand also suffused with a green light, resonating with the light of the green grass. In the darkness, he seemed to have felt something. He raised his hand steadily, and a dark green slender chi sword slowly overflowed from the top of the green grass. The sword's body was bright, and the sword chi was gentle. In the calm, there was an uncontrollable shock. Chapter 607. Su Yun slowly opened his eyes. His surroundings were still that pitch-black and ice-cold prison, but the smile of the person in front of him made him feel incomparably warm. "Do you understand?" Sword Ancestor asked with a smile. "I've already taken a peek at the door." Su Yun nodded. The Limitless Sword Arts is a mysterious sword technique, and the Sword Saint realm of the middle two swords is not something that can be stepped into with just 1 or 2 pointers. As I said before, I am only introducing it to you, and if you want to truly reach this realm, you still need to step into it yourself. Limitless Sword Ancestor stood up, waved his hand slightly, and said, "All right, Su Yun, I have taught you everything that needs to be taught. There is nothing here to stay. Bring the 2 people outside and quickly leave." Hearing that, Su Yun immediately knelt down on one knee and begged, "Sword Ancestor, the reason why father and mother came here is because they hope that you can help us and save my sister. If Sword Ancestor is not willing to help, I am afraid that this disciple will never have the chance to see my sister again in this lifetime." Although Su Yun and Sword Ancestor have just met, Sword Ancestor has taught a lot of disciples in this short period of time, and his family is something that Su Yun has sworn to protect with his life. I hope that Sword Ancestor will not be stingy and help this disciple. Do you want me to use this body to negotiate with the people of Supreme Sect? Sword Ancestor shook his head and said helplessly. Disciple is willing to help Sword Ancestor and gather the scattered 3 souls and 7 spirits. Su Yun said seriously. Although my soul is scattered, every strand of my soul contains a powerful and terrifying strength, and it is extremely easy to attract the attention of other spirit cultivators. They attempt to absorb my soul to increase their cultivation, or use my soul as a guide to refine pills and forge magic treasures. To them, my soul is a treasure, so in order to prevent my soul from being destroyed, my mind has started to protect itself. Right now, these souls are either sealed or hiding, so it will be very difficult for you to find them. If you are willing to follow me to find them, wouldn't it be very easy to find them? I can only provide you with information about their locations, but I can't provide you with any other information. First of all, I want to make it clear that my 3 spiritual souls and 7 physical souls contain everything about me, not just my cultivation. Therefore, the other souls don't know you yet. This wisp of my soul contains my calmness, while the other souls have arrogance, joy, excitement, and even bloodlust and arrogance. I'm afraid it won't be easy for these 2 souls to get close to you. If you're the slightest bit careless, your life might be in danger. The Sword Ancestor said. Hearing that, Su Yun was startled for a moment, then clenched his fists tightly, and said resolutely, "Although Senior said that, Su Yun will not give up. Father and Mother have left Su Yun for so many years, just to find my sister. All these years, my sister has suffered a lot. If I cannot save her safely, Su Yun is not worthy to be a son, and even more so not worthy to be a brother. My heart feels uneasy." These words made Sword Ancestor understand Su Yun's determination. He was silent for a moment, then asked, "Are you determined to find my soul? If everything goes well, there will be a day when we can get it back." The Sword Ancestor did not speak. Su Yun looked at him quietly, as though waiting for his decision. After an unknown period of time, the Sword Ancestor spoke. "Although you insist, I am indeed unable to help you right now, but you are a disciple of my sword sect, and you have already said that, if I were to reject you again and again, it would seem like I am stingy. Su Yun, I will help you this time, but I have to make it clear first, I cannot guarantee that I will be able to fish your sister out of the Supreme Sect. The only thing I can do is to do my best." Hearing that, Su Yun was overjoyed, and immediately said, "The fact that Sword Ancestor is willing to help is already a great fortune for Su Yun. Su Yun does not dare to ask for too much. All right." The Sword Ancestor nodded his head, then released a bit of profound chi, cut out an egg-sized dark stone from the ground, and handed it over to Su Yun. The moment the dark stone was handed over to Su Yun, the profound chi in Sword Ancestor's palm immediately drilled into the stone, and the stone immediately released a layer of pale white light. If you are in trouble, you can inject your profound chi into the stone, and when your profound chi overflows, I will sense it, and use this coordinate to find you. Although I am currently just a strand of soul, but I am still a genuine limitless Sword Ancestor, and can form a deterrent to the people of Supreme Sect. The Sword Ancestor said, "Other than that, if you want to save your sister from the Supreme Sect, you will need to use force to contend against them. The Supreme Sect is extremely special, they will not give anyone face, and will not be afraid of anyone's deterrence, either use tyrannical methods to kidnap your sister, or use the absolute strength to destroy the Supreme Sect to suppress them, and make them bow their heads, but I personally think that the first choice is more realistic, and the second. Su Yun. These stones have my aura. You can take these stones and visit a few of my close friends. Tell them that you are my successor. I believe they will give me face and help you." The Sword Ancestor said. Hearing that, Su Yun nodded seriously. "Thank you, Sword Ancestor. This place can suppress my sword storm, and I am relatively safe here, so I won't attract those spirit cultivator with ulterior motives. It will be relatively peaceful, and won't be that troublesome. In the future, when you have the strength to collect 3 souls and 7 spirits for me, come and find me. I believe that at that time, you will surprise me greatly." The Sword Ancestor said in a relaxed manner. The smile on his face was extremely warm. "Sword Ancestor, there will be a day like that. Alright, hurry up and go." "Yes, Sword Ancestor." Su Yun bowed seriously and was about to leave, but after taking a few steps, Su Yun turned around and said, "Sword Ancestor, disciple almost forgot to tell you, there are many strong existences outside the prison, they are trying to destroy the prison seal and enter the prison. Disciple is not sure if they are here for the treasures or for you, Sword Ancestor, do you need to avoid the limelight?" Su Yun was not sure of the strength of the few Supreme Experts, which was why he said that. Who knew that when the Sword Ancestor heard that, he would actually laugh out loud. A few cats and dogs, what's there to be afraid of? Furthermore, it's not my turn to make a move, you guys have the key to enter here. The key cannot alarm the Realm Master, but if they forcefully break through the barrier, there will definitely be some movement from the Realm Tree, and when the experts of the Realm Tree come, none of those cats and dogs will be able to escape, you can rest assured, haha. Hearing that, Su Yun was relieved, he cupped his fists and left the prison. The Sword Ancestor's current state was special, and it was indeed not suitable for him to leave this place. Although he had friends all over the world, he also had many enemies. According to what he said, the Sword Chi Storm could still be contained under the seal of the previous Realm Lord and his deliberate restraint. However, if he left this place, the Sword Chi Storm would definitely be difficult to suppress. Once the Sword Chi Storm was produced, it would probably attract countless peak saint gods. Su Yun had asked the Sword Ancestor why he did not seek help from his close friends. However, the Sword Ancestor's answer made Su Yun extremely puzzled. The time was not right. These were the 4 words the Sword Ancestor gave him. Su Yun completely did not understand what was the time. Was it that the Sword Ancestor could leave but was unwilling to leave? Or could it be that those friends did not have the time to help him? But no matter what, if he had the ability in the future, he would do this for the Sword Ancestor. Su Yun had received the favor of the Limitless Sword Sect, and was also a member of the Sword Sect. After leaving the prison, Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue, who were outside, were already impatient. Seeing that Su Yun had come out safely, Shin Shueshue was immediately overjoyed, and immediately ran over to hug Su Yun. "Yuner, are you all right? Let me take a good look at you." Shin Shueshue anxiously looked at Su Yun from head to toe, and even circled around him a few times. Seeing that Su Yun was safe and sound, she heaved a sigh of relief. "Look at how scared your mother is." Su Shintian could not help but laugh. Shin Shueshue glared at him, and Su Shintian immediately stopped laughing. Su Yun's heart was warm and he laughed. "Mother, your child is fine, don't worry. It's good that you're fine, it's good that you're fine." Shin Shueshue laughed, she then looked back, but did not see any trace of the Supreme Expert, so she asked, "Where is that expert?" Su Yun laughed. "I'm really lucky this time. Father, Mother, actually that Supreme Expert is the ancestor of my sect." Ancestor? The two of them were stunned. "Yes, when I first left the Su family, I entered a sect called the Limitless Sword Sect. Although the sect is small, it is extremely important to me, and if not for the Limitless Sword Sect, there would not be today's Su Yun. However, the ancestor of the Sword Sect, the Limitless Sword Ancestor, went missing many years ago. This child never thought that I would meet him here." Su Yun laughed. Hearing that, Su Shintian was shocked and astonished. "There's actually such a coincidence? Yuner, since that's the case, doesn't that mean that this Supreme Expert can help us save your sister?" Shin Shueshue anxiously grabbed onto Su Yun and asked anxiously. "I'm afraid that ancestor cannot help." Su Yun shook his head. "Why?" The two of them said in unison. "Many years ago, Ancestor offended the Supreme Expert and lost to him. Now, his soul has been scattered, and the one in this prison is only a wisp of his soul." Su Yun sighed. Hearing that, Shin Shueshue's excited expression immediately dimmed. "What a pity! Yuner, could it be that this Supreme Expert is unable to help us?" Su Shintian frowned and asked. "That's right." Su Yun sighed. "Ancestor has too many enemies, and in his current state, He is unable to leave this prison, so father and mother, we can only think of another way. Since that's the case, there's nothing we can do. Su Shintian sighed and said helplessly. Shen Shueshua's expression was downcast, as though she wanted to say something, but in the end she did not say anything, her eyes filled with grief. After working so hard for so long, in the end it was all for naught. It had to be said that it was too disappointing. Father, mother, you don't have to be too sad. Although Sword Ancestor is unable to help us directly, he has given me a keepsake. With this, we can ask for help from his friends, and I believe that Ancestor's friends are not ordinary people. Su Yun immediately said. Shin Shueshua nodded and forced out a smile. But at this time, bang! A violent sound suddenly rang out from outside the cave. Chapter 608. This voice. Su Shintian frowned. I'm afraid those Supreme Experts have made their move. A big move? Su Yun suddenly thought of the existences gathered at the entrance of the prison, and his face changed slightly. Could it be that the Supreme Experts were going to break through the prison and come in to snatch the treasure? So fast. Fast? Yuner, do you know how long you've been in there? Shin Shueshua shook his head. You've been in there for a full 10 days. If not for your father stopping me, I would have rushed in to look for you. 10 days. Su Yun was shocked. He thought it would be at most 2 hours. Rumble, 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 a dull sound rang out once again, and the prison continued to shake, as if there was an earthquake. Su Yun did not dare hesitate. He turned his head and said anxiously, Father, mother, this place is not suitable to stay for long, let's quickly leave this place. What are you afraid of? Su Shintian said calmly. If they want to enter, then so be it. If we don't take the treasure, then we won't be a threat to them. Later on, we will blend into the crowd and leave this place. Things are not as simple as they seem. Su Yun said anxiously in a low voice. Sword Ancestor said, once the enchantment is destroyed, the realm tree will immediately send a large number of troops to maintain it. Anyone who barges into the prison will be killed without mercy. Realm Tree Army? Su Shintian was slightly shocked. The people of the Realm Tree have always loved peace and have never killed. Why would they say that? Sword Ancestor told me that this Realm Lord is different from the previous Realm Lord. I'm afraid he won't be as friendly as before. Su Yun said. When he heard the news about the Realm Lord from the Sword Ancestor's mouth, Su Yun was both shocked and astonished. He had never thought that the seemingly weak girl would actually have such a temperament. Hearing Su Yun's words, Su Shintian panicked, but he did not insist on staying here. There was no point in staying, so he nodded and said, Since that's the case, then all right, let's leave now. With that said, the three of them quickly walked out. Su Yun's speed was extremely fast. He walked in front of the three of them, and when he approached the intersection, the limitless sword sheath was still quietly placed beside the wall. He immediately took it and hung it on his body. Yuner, what is this sword sheath of yours? Seeing Su Yun carrying the sword sheath again, Shin Shueshua asked. Did Yuner take this sword box out of her interspatial bag? Why didn't he take out his space bag? For the sword. Su Yun laughed. Is that so? Shin Shueshua was confused. It seems like you are good at using the sword. Using the sword is good. A man should wield a 3-foot-long sword and slash the heavens and the earth. Su Shintian, who was at the side, could not help but nod. Su Yun smiled and did not say anything. When they neared the entrance of Nameless Prison, the frequency of the trembling became greater and greater, and wave after wave of all kinds of profound energy appeared in the air. There was demonic energy, devil energy, evil energy, profound energy, and so on. When they arrived at the entrance of the cave, they could see that the entrance of the cave was filled with a large amount of strange aura. These auras frantically attacked the seal at the entrance of the cave. The strength was very shocking. The incomparably thick seal was actually cracked by this aura, and bits of aura leaked out from the crack. This is bad. Su Shintian's face changed slightly, and immediately waved his hand. A golden light overflowed from his palm, enveloping the three of them. Su Yun realized that his hands and feet could no longer be seen, and upon closer inspection, he realized that his body had disappeared without a trace. Not only him, even Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue could not be seen. "Father, Mother, what's going on?" Su Yun exclaimed. "Yuner, don't move. Your father has used the divine concealment technique. The three of us are currently in a state of invisibility." Shin Shueshue's serious whisper came into Su Yun's ears. "Invisibility? Why are you using it now?" Su Yun did not understand at all. But in the next second, he understood. If he didn't use it now, it would be too late. For those supreme experts, there was no need to break through the prison, they only needed a crack. Seeing that a crack had appeared in the barrier, several supreme experts rushed over like a swarm of bees. They each used their own sacred arts and shrunk their bodies to the size of a grain of sand, directly entering through the crack. In the blink of an eye, 5 supreme experts with terrifying auras rushed into the prison. Su Yun was simply unable to determine the cultivation level of the 5 supreme experts. He only felt as if 5 gods were standing in front of him, and these existences were much higher than his own father. If he was discovered, he would definitely be killed without mercy. Su Yun's breathing became heavy, his eyes staring at the 5 supreme experts who were walking over. He felt as if his heart was in his throat. Most likely, Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue were the same. The three of them definitely could not contend against these 5 people. These supreme experts were very cautious. After entering this place, they were not in a hurry to search for treasures, but instead started to wander around. "Dear monster, you said that someone might have entered this prison before. Where is he?" A man wearing a purple cloak turned his head and shouted. "Are you here to look for someone, or are you here to look for treasure?" The deer-headed man coldly snorted. "I already said that it's possible, and I can't be sure. If you want to take it seriously, then go look for them." "Sai, you can't say that. If someone sneaks in and takes the treasure away, then we'll be the ones to lose. This prison is only this big. The door is sealed, and the outside is blocked by us. How could anyone sneak in?" "I think the deer monster is being paranoid, right? He's always been like this." The few of them laughed. "You guys only know how to talk fast." The deer-head man was furious. He ignored the group of fellows and directly rushed inside. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared. "Heh, you deer monster, do you want to take all the treasures for yourself?" The purple-cloaked man shouted and also rushed over, disappearing in an instant. How could the others just watch as the 2 of them plunder the treasures? One by one, they crazily rushed inside. Very quickly, the cave entrance calmed down. Seeing that, Su Yun and the other 2 heaved a sigh of relief. The 3 of them waited for a while, then walked out from the shadows. These supreme experts are seizing the treasures. All of them are only interested in profit. Maybe there will be a fight inside. We can't stay here for long. Let's leave quickly. Su Shintian removed the spell and said in a deep voice. "All right. The supreme expert has already gone in. The ones outside are just small fries. Yuner, open the door and rush out." "All right." Su Yun took out the key, and was about to walk towards the door and open it. But just as Su Yun was about to walk towards the door, several dark green lights shot towards him. Before Su Yun could even react, he had already closed in, and the bone-chilling killing intent drowned him like a wave. Su Yun's heart turned cold. He suddenly turned his head, only to see that the light was already right in front of him. At this moment, even if he took out the 7th-tier Imperial equipment, it would be too late. Clang! A golden shield suddenly appeared in front of Su Yun, blocking the light. It was his father. Su Yun looked over, only to see that Su Shintian had unknowingly activated the profound chi, blocking the attack for Su Yun. Su Shintian and Shen Shueshua looked towards the depths of the prison, only to see the 5 supreme experts that had rushed into the prison all walking out from the darkness. Hee, so there really was a cat or dog that snuck in. TSK, dear monster, your judgment is really correct. The one who spoke was the purple-cloaked man. He raised his head and saw a terrifying skull under the cloak. Your senses are even stronger than my dog's nose. Haha, I almost let these guys run away. The dog-headed man laughed out loud, his face full of pride. So these guys were just putting on an act to lure us out, Su Yun said. Haha, do you really think we don't get along? Since we have teamed up to take the treasures here, we naturally trust each other. We are already here, so what's the point of scheming? However, if the rats sneak in, then that's another matter. If we aren't careful, and the rats steal our treasures, then wouldn't we have wasted all our efforts? The deer laughed strangely. The faces of Su Yun and the other 2 changed. Alright, enough with the nonsense. Hurry up and hand over the treasures you guys took from inside. The purple-cloaked man said in a deep voice. We did not take the treasures inside. If everyone is here for the treasures, you can go ahead and take them. Su Shintian said. You didn't take any treasures? The dog-headed man spat and shouted. If you didn't come here to take the treasures, then what are you doing here? A tour? Stop playing trick. If you didn't take the treasures, why are you hiding and sneaking around? Hurry up and hand over the treasures, or else I'll make you guys suffer. We really don't have them. If you don't believe me, you can go inside and take a look. The treasures are still there. Shen Shueshue immediately said. But these people clearly did not believe him. The purple-cloaked man pulled out a pale white bone sword from his waist and walked straight towards Su Yun and the other 2. A group of weaklings, why waste words with them? Just kill them. If they really take the treasures, we just need to search their bodies, the cloaked man said coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, the remaining 2 supreme experts had already rushed over. One of the supreme expert had long hair that hung down to his shoulders, his face was covered by his hair, he was tall and agile, and his chi was extremely ordinary. It was the swift wind spirit chi, but this chi was extremely terrifying. It was definitely not something an ordinary person could compare to. The other almighty was an old woman who was as thin as a match. She had not spoken, but when she attacked the 3 of them, she let out a horrifying and strange laugh. Her entire face was distorted, making her look like a ghost. Su Shintian immediately released his profound strength, creating a circle of chi around the 3 of them, wanting to protect Shen Shueshue and Su Yun, but just as his chi was formed, it was shattered by the long-haired man and the old woman. One person was probably enough to take care of the 3 of them, not to mention the 5 supreme experts. Damn it! Su Yun held onto the key tightly, his heart hardened. He stuffed the key into Shen Shueshue's hands and anxiously shouted, Mother, go and open the enchantment, bring father away, I'll bring up the rear for you. Yuner! Quick! Su Yun bellowed. He pulled out the death sword, planning to use all of the death sword's power to fight with this group of people. The 3 of them were at a disadvantage against these 5 tyrannical existences. The only thing they could do now was retreat. But at this moment, waves of cold snorts came from the depths of the prison. A few ants, how dare you behave so atrociously here? Although this is a prison, it is also a place for me to stay. Did you get my permission to mess around here? As the snort fell, a wave of sword intent filled the entire prison, instantly concealing the auras of the experts. Chapter 609. This aura. The purple-cloaked existence's voice trembled. There seems to be someone inside. This is the nameless prison. It is said that there is an incredible supreme expert locked inside. Could it be that supreme expert? The dear monster exclaimed. Who cares, so what if there's a supreme expert? Let's join hands and kill him, eat his body, swallow his soul, and increase our cultivation. Wouldn't that be better? The dog-headed man roared. He was not afraid at all, and did not care about the sword intent, and directly rushed towards Su Yun. His mouth that was filled with steel teeth opened wide, and suddenly became several times larger. From the looks of it, he wanted to swallow Su Yun alive. However, just as the dog-headed man moved, thousands of chi swords suddenly flew out from the depths of the prison, piercing towards the dog-headed man like a torrent. All the chi swords seemed to have a life of their own, all landing on the dog-headed man's body, piercing through it, but when the chi swords were less than half an inch away from Su Yun, they stopped, as though everything was centered around the dog-headed man. The chi swords pierced through the dog-headed man, and immediately slashed. The rustling sounds of the swords could not be stopped, as though every chi sword was held tightly by a swordsman. In the blink of an eye, the dog-headed man was sliced into pieces and died. A cloud of blood exploded in the air, and pieces of flesh covered the ground. Each piece of flesh was not more than the size of a finger. Instant kill. The remaining 4 Supreme Experts were terrified. This was not an ordinary instant kill. They were well aware of the strength of the dog-headed man. It was definitely not a simple first or second stage Sky Spirit Master existence. Even Su Shintian was afraid of it. It was most likely that its strength was as high as the 8th stage. Clang! 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 The sound of a large number of sharp swords rang out. The ground glowed, and countless chi swords pierced out from the ground. They stabbed into the ground in a crooked manner, transforming the pitch-black prison into a unique realm of swords. In the darkness, the sound of light and slow footsteps could be heard. The 4 Supreme Experts did not dare to move, their eyes wide open as they stared at the darkness in shock. Gradually, a slender white-haired man with a halo of light walked out. The man had a head full of snow-white hair, sword-like eyebrows, and starry eyes. The shape of his face was angular, and he was extremely handsome and heroic. His hands were behind his back, and he wore a green robe that didn't seem luxurious, but gave off the feeling of an otherworldly expert. That pair of sharp sword eyes swept across the 4 supreme beings, and his cold face revealed waves of killing intent. "Kneel," he shouted coldly. "Who are you?" The purple-cloaked man gathered his courage and said with a trembling voice, "Someone who can kill you." The sword ancestor said coldly. With a wave of his hand, the surrounding swords immediately flew over, and like several rays of light, they pierced through the purple-cloaked man. His profound chi was completely dispersed, and his body was torn apart like paper. Wherever the sword passed, it was destroyed, and he was unable to defend against the attack. The cloak of the purple-cloaked man was shredded into pieces, revealing his terrifying skeletal body. However, the moment his body appeared, it turned into pieces and scattered on the ground. His aura also vanished into thin air. The purple-cloaked man was dead. The sound of the chi sword shuttling reverberated in the surrounding space. The space trembled, and circles of mysterious and profound patterns rippled back and forth. The entire prison seemed to no longer be a prison, but a mysterious space that belonged solely to the sword ancestor. How powerful was this power? Furthermore, what shocked Su Yun even more was that this was only a tenth of the sword ancestor's strength. The current him was merely a wisp of soul. Then what was sword ancestor's true strength? Su Yun thought. When the remaining 3 supreme beings saw the sword ancestor's ferocious methods, they were all scared out of their wits. Who could defeat such an existence? No one would have thought that the existence in the nameless prison would be so terrifying. How could these existences dare to stay here any longer? One by one, they turned their heads and ran, instantly turning into the size of a grain of sand and drilling into the crack. Seeing that the supreme being had left, the sword ancestor did not chase after them. He quietly stood in his original position and nodded at Su Yun. "There are many troubles here, Su Yun, quickly leave." Hearing that, Su Yun regained his senses, and immediately cupped his fists and bowed. "Thank you, sword ancestor, disciple will leave now." Su Shintian and Shin Shueshua were startled, and only regained their senses after a while, and anxiously bowed to Sword Ancestor. However, there were too many things going on here, so it was not advisable to stay for long. Su Yun, Su Shintian and Shin Shueshua opened the door and rushed out at full speed. Sword Ancestor looked at Su Yun, who was leaving, his eyes flashed, and then he turned and stepped into the darkness. When the door to the prison opened, the people outside rushed in like a tide. All sorts of shouts, screams, and curses could be heard nonstop. The people who were fast had just rushed into the prison when they were blasted to the ground by the spirit cultivator's profound technique. The slower people were not at peace either. Behind them were all deities, and in order to snatch the benefits, there were even people who started fighting, directly casting spells in this narrow space. Explosions rang out nonstop, and the scene was even more chaotic and explosive than 100 bombs exploding at the same time. The nameless prison trembled nonstop. The earth trembled as if the apocalypse had arrived. After Su Yun and his parents left the prison, they headed straight out of the dark place. At this moment, the dark space in the dark place was suddenly illuminated by an emerald green light. Wait! Su Shintian was the first to sense the incoming light, and immediately stopped Su Yun and Shin Shueshua. His brows twitched, and he pulled the two of them to the side to hide behind a large boulder, and at the same time, he released a circle of golden light, enveloping the three of them. With the appearance of the golden light, Su Yun realized that his chi was completely isolated from the chi outside the light. It seemed to be a concealment method. At this time, the sound of something tearing through the air could be heard from afar. Following that, countless men dressed in green armor or green robes could be seen flying over. All of them had serious expressions on their faces as they rushed towards the direction of the nameless prison. Before they even reached their destination, all of them had already taken out their weapons, and from the looks of it, they had already decided to use force. This is the people of Realm Tree? Shin Shueshua was slightly shocked. They actually came so quickly. Although the nameless prison is set up in the dark place, it does not mean that the people of Realm Tree do not value it. After all, the one who sealed the supreme expert was the previous Realm Lord. Su Shintian said. Su Yun's gaze swept across the army that had rushed over from the Realm Tree. In such a short period of time, thousands of experts had already flown over, and from the looks of it, the Realm Tree had sent close to 10,000 people here. With so many experts, no one in the dark place could resist them. That woman didn't come? Su Yun was startled. He looked around but did not see any trace of the Realm Lord. Wanhua Realm, at the border of the Linglong Mountain. Beside that strange forest, beside the spring of corrosion that was filled with dried bones, a fox demon with a white tail and white ears was sitting cross-legged on the ground. She raised her slender hands and gently formed a hand seal. Her charming eyes were tightly closed, and her fair face was suffused with a tinge of red. Her long eyelashes were trembling slightly, and drops of fragrant sweat were dripping down from her forehead. The profound chi around her body was quickly becoming chaotic, like fireflies flying in the air, making her entire body look extremely beautiful. The beautiful and charming woman, the withered bones, and the putrid spring water formed a sharp contrast. The scene was extremely strange. After an unknown period of time, the fox demon slowly opened her bright eyes. Her tender little mouth exhaled a breath of hot air, and the corners of her mouth couldn't help but curl up. Big Brother's strength must be incomparably powerful now. My talent has actually increased again, and my cultivation speed has also increased by 1,000 miles. If this goes on, I'm afraid I'll be able to advance again. She raised her white hand and slightly activated her chi. A strand of golden luster danced on her white palm, and vaguely, one could see that there seemed to be a dragon spiraling within the golden light. With this divine object, True Dragon City, in the future, I will also be able to reach the peak and reach the great Tao of that world. The fox demon looked at the golden light in her hand, and a trace of intoxication appeared in the depths of her eyes. Whiz! At this moment, a light sound rang in his ears. The fox demon's exquisite fox ears moved, and she anxiously dispersed the golden light. She suddenly stood up, and pulled out the wine-red curved blade from her waist, and shouted, "Who is it? Don't be nervous." A soft and gentle voice entered her ears. The fox demon turned her head to look, only to see a woman dressed in green, dressed simply, but with an extremely beautiful appearance walking over. The woman was extremely beautiful, and it could be said that the fox demon felt ashamed of her inferiority when she saw her. Her beauty had already exceeded the beauty of her skin and flesh, but her beauty was a kind of temperament, and she was beautiful to the bones. If ordinary people were to talk about temperament, then the temperament of an ordinary beauty would be hovering around 10 points, but this woman's temperament had already exceeded this limit. The fox demon was unable to judge how high her temperament was, because she had never seen anyone with a better temperament than her. However, the fox demon believed that this pink skeleton would also be extremely beautiful. "You? Who are you?" Looking at the woman who suddenly appeared in front of him, the fox demon asked vigilantly. "The owner of this place," the green-robed woman said softly. "The owner of this place?" The fox demon looked at the spring of corrosion in confusion, and then laughed. "It's just a useless spring water, it can't be used for cultivation, it can't be touched, and it can't even be used to train materials. Does this thing have an owner?" "I'm not talking about this spring of corrosion," the woman said indifferently. "I'm talking about the entire Wanhua realm." "Wanhua realm?" The fox demon was startled, then suddenly thought of something, and said in shock, "You are the realm master?" The green-robed woman nodded. "Realm master, but why are you here? And why are you looking for me?" The fox demon asked curiously, her eyes still maintaining a strong sense of suspicion, as though she still did not believe the person in front of her. But the woman did not want to waste words, and went straight to the point. "Let me ask you, have you ever killed a person called Xiao Huilin?" With that said, the fox demon's expression froze. She no longer doubted this person's identity. He still remembered that the person called himself Xiao Huilin, but when he killed him, there was no one around, but the woman in front of him knew. It was enough to show that she was definitely a realm master with great abilities. "That's right, I did kill him, but so what? This person has done many evil deeds, destroyed half of the Linglong Mountain, and broken the rules you set. He is a sinner of the Wanhua realm. I killed him, and got rid of the evil for the Wanhua realm. You should reward me," the fox demon said with a glib tongue. But the lady could not help but shake her head. "Although you say that, but you have to understand, Xiao Huilin's identity is not ordinary. Once he dies in the Wanhua realm, it will only bring disaster to the people of the Wanhua realm, so killing him is not a good thing." "Then what do you mean? Let him run amok in the Wanhua realm, kill the innocent and do all sorts of evil?" The fox demon opened her eyes wide, looked at the lady, and snorted. "Is this the style of your Wanhua realm? Lord Realm Master, when did you become so afraid of trouble? If word of this gets out, I'm afraid that the people of the other realms will say that your Wanhua realm is bullying the weak and afraid of the strong. Furthermore, I am thinking for the sake of the Wanhua realm, do you want me to let Xiao Huilin continue?" Chapter 610. Hearing the fox demon's words, the realm master went silent for a moment. Although it was the fox demon who killed Xiao Huilin, when it came to her mouth, it became a righteous and selfless matter. It made people feel that everything the fox demon had done was for the sake of the Wanhua realm, and that she should be a great hero. However, the woman understood that these were just the fox demon's sophistry. "You are eloquent, I am not as good as you. I did not come here today to argue with you," the realm master said indifferently. "I came here to ask you, are you willing to sacrifice yourself for all spirits?" Hearing that, the fox demon's tender face suddenly turned pale, and her voice turned cold. "What do you mean? This is my respect for you," the woman said seriously. All living things have spirits, all living things have feelings. This time you killed Xiao Huailin, causing the experts of the all-empty sect to attack the Wanhua realm, causing the lives of all living beings to be endangered. In order to prevent the lives of all living beings, I have to stand up and resist the all-empty sect, but every single soldier in the realm tree is a living being. Their lives cannot be paid for by you, so, in order to minimize the losses, and prevent many people from losing their lives, I hope that you can stand up and take the initiative to admit your guilt to the all-empty sect, let them give up, and stop this man-made disaster. The woman spoke very seriously, and with every word she said, her gaze was fixed on the fox demon. The fox demon's ice-cold face slowly warmed up. From the initial coldness to anger, anger to extreme anger, and when her anger reached a point where she could not restrain her anger, she suddenly laughed out loud. Ha 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 ha! Is this your Wanhua realm? Ha 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 ha! This is too funny, this is too funny! She laughed heartlessly and happily, as if she had heard the funniest joke in the world. The woman looked at her quietly and did not say anything else. The fox demon sat down on the green rock at the side, her soft and huge tail wagging as she looked at the woman with a face full of ridicule. So, as the realm master, you personally came to find me, hoping that I can be your protective talisman, and let me extend my neck to the people of all empty sect, and let them chop it off, in order to quell their anger, right? Her face was filled with ridicule, as if she was mocking the realm master, mocking the entire Wanhua realm. War is an undeserved disaster. If we can put an end to the war, it will be beneficial for everyone. The woman said, but before she could finish, she was interrupted by the fox demon. But it's not good for me. The fox demon sneered. Moreover, as the realm lord, your vision is so narrow. You really don't live up to your reputation. The woman fell silent again. Her bright eyes stared at the fox demon, but she heard the fox demon raise her fair and smooth thighs and snort, also, why do you have to sacrifice me? I am indebted to the people of your Wanhua realm, and you do not want to repay me, but instead want to repay me with enmity. Is this what you people of the Wanhua realm do? What do you mean? What do you mean? You still don't understand? How stupid! You must know that after Xiao Huailin entered the Wanhua realm, how many innocent people did he kill, how many sects did he destroy, how many tragedies did he create, and how many spirit beasts did he devour? You should know this better than me. And I, by killing Xiao Huailin, I have indirectly saved countless lives. If I do not make a move, then Xiao Huailin will only kill even more people, causing even more lives to lose their lives. So, I am indebted to your Wanhua realm, and now, you want to hand me over, heh, doesn't that mean you are a person who repaid kindness with enmity? The people of the Wanhua realm are heartless and unscrupulous? The fox demon hugged her huge breasts that did not match her figure and sneered. The woman lowered her head and thought. After a long time, she shook her head gently. I came here today just to persuade you, I will not use force. If you are truly willing to sacrifice yourself for the sake of the countless living beings in the Wanhua realm, that would be for the best. But if you are not willing, I will not force you. Seeing that she could not persuade him, the woman did not persist. She turned around, took a step in the air, and suddenly disappeared. Fox Demon stared at the place where the woman had disappeared for a long time. When she was sure that she had truly left, she heaved a sigh of relief, and the two fox ears on her head drooped down. Fortunately, this realm master is not here to use force. If she really wants to capture me back, even with the Dragon City, it would be very difficult for me to contend against her. Fox Demon wiped the sweat off her tender face and secretly whispered to herself. But this Xiao Huailin is really despicable. He injured Big Brother, and now that he was killed by me, he even caused me such a big trouble. Seems like I can't stay in the Wanhua realm anymore. The realm master is still reasonable. The people from the all-empty sect will definitely not be reasonable. The fox demon's black eyes rolled around. Then, it jumped off the rock and ran into the distance. After exiting the dark place, Su Yun, Su Shintian and Shin Shueshua headed out of the Linglong Mountain. Now that the supreme expert is powerless to help us, in my opinion, the only thing we can do now is to look for Master. Maybe he has a way to save Luluo. Su Shintian said. Luluo? Su Yun frowned slightly. Your sister's name is Su Luluo. Shin Shueshua sighed. Su Yun nodded. However, he had always been curious in his heart. He had grown up in the Su family, and had never seen or heard that he had a sister. Furthermore, his parents had always been in the Su family, so when did they give birth to him? Forget it, let's not think about it. Su Yun shook his head, took out the stone sword ancestor gave him, and said, Father, Mother, why don't we go look for sword ancestor's close friends for now? Sword ancestor is powerful, his friends are definitely not simple. Please don't. Su Shintian immediately shook his head. Unless it's absolutely necessary, don't casually look for sword ancestor's friends. Why? Sword ancestor is indeed strong, but first you have to understand, his soul has already been scattered, and it is unknown how long his soul has existed here. Do you know if those close friends will still remember his friendship? Can you be sure that they will help us on behalf of Sword Ancestor? Furthermore, once Sword Ancestor's enemies find out, I'm afraid that we will be in endless trouble. His close friends are strong, and his enemies are not weak either. Shin Shueshua said. Hearing that, Su Yun immediately understood. With Sword Ancestor's current appearance, it could be said that many people would not be able to find him, and the same was true for his enemies. If he went to look for his friends and family for help and was discovered by his enemies, he would definitely be in trouble. However, it was different to look for other people, they were not as missing as Sword Ancestor. Since that's the case, let's discuss this method in the future. But Father, Mother, who is the Grand Master that you are talking about? Su Yun asked again. However, the two of them were silent for a while, and did not answer in time. Shin Shueshua smiled slightly, and said, He is a great sage that Father and Mother have entered the sect, it is natural that you do not know him. Originally, Father and Mother did not want to trouble him, but after so many years, we really have no choice but to ask him for help. Since that's the case, let's set off now. Su Yun said. Hearing that, Su Shintian anxiously said, Yuner, you can't go. Why? Su Yun asked in shock. There are many reasons, it's hard for Father to explain it to you. Su Shintian's words flickered. Hearing that, Su Yun was even more confused. Why can't I go? Father, you guys are going to save your sister, can't I, as your brother, do something about it? Yuner, you don't understand our difficulties, and you don't understand the cause and effect of the matter, so it's better if you don't go. Furthermore, although you have the cultivation of the third stage of Sky Spirit Master, I'm afraid that the weakest we have to deal with is not lower than the Spirit Emperor. That kind of battle is too fierce. If you go, not only will it be difficult for you to help us, your father and I will have to take care of you, and it will only be troublesome. Just then, Shin Shueshua persuaded. Hearing that, Su Yun's brows twitched, but he did not say anything. He looked at the two elders, and in the end, nodded his head and said, Since that's the case then all right, I won't go. Seeing that, Shin Shueshua pulled Su Yun's hand and laughed. Yuner, don't worry, Father and Mother will definitely save your sister. At that time, we will reunite as a family, okay? Yes. Su Yun nodded, but there was no smile on his face. Su Shintian, who had a serious face the entire time, said, All right, Shwe, it's getting late. Let's hurry up and head to Master's place. Husband, don't be anxious. Wait for me and Yuner to talk for a while. Shin Shueshua laughed, then pulled Su Yun's hand and walked to the side, as though he was purposely avoiding Su Shintian. This made Su Shintian unhappy, but he was not angry, and only turned his head to look into the distance. Seeing that, Shin Shueshua secretly laughed. Mother, is there anything else? Su Yun asked. Shin Shueshue took out a golden blue jade tablet from somewhere and placed it in Su Yun's palm. There were no words on the jade tablet, only a circular pattern. It could not be said to be exquisite, but the aura of the jade tablet was extremely exquisite. Su Yun had never felt such a miraculous aura before. Yuner, Mother knows that you can't bear to part with father and mother, and also knows that you have suffered a lot to search for mother and father all these years. This is our fault. If we had left behind a way to contact you when we left, perhaps you wouldn't have suffered so much. Your father has a lot of face, and actually, he feels very guilty towards you, but he can't say it out loud, so don't take it to heart, okay? Shin Shueshue said in a sincere tone. Hearing that, Su Yun shook his head. Mother, you don't have to say all this. I understand in my heart everything that father and mother have done is no different from what I have done. It's good that you can think that way. Shin Shueshue smiled in gratification and said, Take this jade tablet well. If you want to find me and your father, then open the jade stone in the center of this medallion, and when the jade stone is opened, it will release divine power, and I will receive it immediately. At that time, I will go find you, understand? Your child understands. Su Yun nodded and kept the jade tablet, but a few knots appeared in his heart. Because from start to finish, Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue did not tell him where they were going. Chapter 6:11. Su Yun did not blame Su Shintian and Shin Shueshue. He knew that the two of them were doing it for his own good, and there were some things that the more one knew, the better. Since his parents had already decided to settle it himself, it was not convenient for him to ask too much. Although he had countless worries in his heart, at that moment there was nothing he could do. He was already at the 3rd stage of the Sky Spirit Master, but this matter was difficult even for his parents at the 7th stage of the Sky Spirit Master, let alone him. However, since his parents were safe and sound, Su Yun was naturally extremely happy, and did not dare to ask for too much. He planned to leave the ultimate martial world to find Qing'er, but before he left, there was one more thing he needed to do. Su Yun quickly walked towards the dark place. His pace was extremely fast, and he was in a hurry. It was still the same dark but lively cave entrance. After entering, his line of sight changed from a bright world to a dark area. After landing on the ground, a large number of demon and evil people surged in from all directions, all asking Su Yun which realm he planned to go to. Su Yun looked at the group of evil demons around him, and did not bother with them. He pulled on his cloak and left. The surrounding existences all left in disappointment. After he left, Su Yun returned. He found a demon with the weakest cultivation among them and pulled him over. Hey, what are you doing? When the demon saw that someone was pulling his arm, he was immediately shocked. The black and green demonic chi around his body started to tremble. He was only at the 10th grade of Spirit Master, and was considered the weakest among these existences that charged fees to bring people into the realm. However, he was not suppressed or ostracized here, and there were even some existences that respected him. It could be seen that his true ability was far from this. There's a deal. Do you want to do it? Su Yun secretly looked around at the people who were looking at him, and said softly. Hearing that, the demon became suspicious. What deal? Help me find something. After you find it, I'll pay you profound coin. There are so many people here. Can't you find someone else? The demon asked curiously. I feel that you are reliable. Su Yun raised his head and said. Under the hood, his pale face was revealed. The demon's entire body trembled, but he understood what Su Yun meant and nodded. I will be back in half a day. The price of each item is 1 million. If you think it's too little, I can only choose another seller. I hope that you can wait for me here with the item. After Su Yun told the spirit demon about the 2 ingredients, he immediately left. These 2 materials were called Withering Heart Stone and Yellow Springs Wax, and were treasures that could only be produced in a special place like the Dark Place. It was extremely difficult to obtain them outside, and very few people use them as materials, so the price would not be too outrageous. When the demon heard this, he did not hesitate and immediately went to collect them. Su Yun, on the other hand, walked towards the small river where the old man from the realm tree had appeared before. Halfway there, the sword scabbard glowed, and a white-clothed woman with a plain face appeared. It was Ling Qingyu. This time you are rich. There are a total of 790 million profound coin inside, although there are no magic treasure, but there are countless materials. You can take the withering heart stone and the yellow springs wax. The rest can be replaced with the materials obtained from the treasure trove. It is enough to repair the Lotus Star Sword. Ling Qingyu walked shoulder to shoulder with Su Yun and laughed. With so many treasures, I wonder who placed them here. Su Yun sighed. Wasn't it placed by the person who was imprisoned in the prison? Ling Qingyu asked curiously. Hearing her say that, Su Yun suddenly thought of something, and immediately said, Of course not, Qingyu, I forgot to tell you, the existence imprisoned in the nameless prison is the sword ancestor. What? Ling Qingyu's eyes immediately widened. She grabbed onto Su Yun's arm and shouted in shock. The person in the nameless prison is the sword ancestor. It's the sword ancestor, but because of a series of things, I was so busy that I forgot to tell you. Sorry, Qingyu, do you want to go see the sword ancestor? Hearing that, Ling Qingyu's excited face suddenly darkened. She released Su Yun's arm and tilted her head, as if she had thought of something. She sighed and shook her head. Forget it, even if I see him, there's nothing to say. I remember you once said that the sword ancestor was your savior, and in order to repay the sword ancestor, you turned into a sword and landed in the sword sheath. But why are you unwilling to see him now? Su Yun did not understand. There are too many reasons for this. You won't understand even if I tell you. Ling Qingyu rolled her eyes at him. Su Yun laughed and did not ask any more. Since Ling Qingyu was unwilling to say, asking any further would only be asking for trouble, but the relationship between the two should not be too stiff. If not, Ling Qingyu would not have turned into a sword and attached herself to the sword sheath. The two of them continued forward. Not long after, they arrived at the river. Su Yun looked around, looking for the old man's figure, and very quickly, he saw two people standing on the left side of the river. One of them was a man dressed in tight black clothes, and the other was a skinny old man. The man and the old man were talking about something, and very quickly, the man nodded and turned to leave. It seemed like the two of them were in the middle of a transaction. After the man left, Su Yun walked over. When the old man saw who it was, his face changed, and he said, Brat, what are you doing here again? Ask me something. Su Yun said. This time there's a fee. The old man rubbed his fingers together without any hesitation. Don't worry, I brought enough money this time. If you answer what I want to know, I will give you a suitable price. Su Yun snapped his fingers, causing Ling Qingyu, who was at the side, to be startled. Only then did she understand. She took out a few profound coin cards from somewhere and handed them over to Su Yun. Oh, you're rich? You took that treasure? The old man looked at the profound coin card and laughed. If you ask me a question, you'll have to pay for it. All right, I won't be glib with you anymore. Tell me, what do you want to know? The old man waved his hand and said impatiently. Su Yun was silent for a moment. He took a deep breath, and then asked softly, I want to know where my father, Su Shintian, and my mother, Shin Shueshue, are from. Su Shintian? Shin Shueshue? Do you have a birth date? Su Yun thought for a while, then shook his head helplessly. No, my parents never told me about their birth date. Is there any hair on them? How is that possible? All right. Since that's the case, I can only use that move. The old man chuckled. He hooked his hand at Su Yun, then squatted down, took off the bell from his waist, placed it on the ground, placed one hand on the bell, and started chanting. Ling Qingyu curiously watched the old man cast the spell, as if she was interested. After chanting for a while, the old man stopped his incantation and said, Give me your hand. Su Yun did as he was told, and extended his hand onto the bell. With lightning speed, the old man released a thread of profound qi and pierced towards Su Yun's finger. A small hole immediately appeared on his finger, and fresh blood flowed out. Seeing that, Su Yun was shocked. Every part of his body was protected by the profound qi, and it would be difficult for him to break through it easily. However, this old man was able to easily damage his own flesh and blood, which was enough to show that his cultivation was extraordinary. Fresh blood dripped down and landed on the bell. The bell immediately emitted waves of red light and trembled violently. A terrifying and ear-piercing scream came out from within the bell. Su Yun and Ling Qingyu covered their ears, feeling as if the scream was tearing their souls apart, causing them extreme pain. However, the old man was not afraid at all. Instead, he bent down and placed his ear on the bell to listen for a moment, then raised his head and smiled. Your father and mother gave birth to you, the blood in your body is connected to them. Using this move, you will definitely know everything you want to know. Is there a result? Su Yun asked anxiously. Of course. What is it? 10 million profound coins. The old man shamelessly rubbed his fingers again. Su Yun immediately took out 10 million profound coins from his profound coin card and piled them beside the old man. Seeing that, the old man quickly kept the profound coins, and then said, Your father and mother are both from the Sky Martial Continent, and were born in the Su family of the southern continent of the Sky Martial Continent. Your father was born and raised in the Su family, and your mother was a refugee who escaped to the Julian district, and later married into the Su family. She was originally from the Great Sian district. Hearing that, Su Yun frowned. That's not right. If what the old man said was true, then how could father and mother have such strength? Who was the Grand Master that they were talking about? What sect did they enter in the past? Su Yun was still full of questions and asked again. Please tell me, what sect did my parents enter? Hey kid, can't you ask me something that I know? This kind of thing that I don't even know, I have to use a technique to calculate, and every time I use it, I have to rest for 5 days. If you ask me like that, I can't answer you. The old man shook his head. Su Yun, why are you asking these questions? Ling Qingyu asked curiously. I feel that I don't understand my parents anymore. They seem to have a lot of things to hide from me, so it's not convenient for me to open my mouth. I want to help them, so I ask like this. Su Yun sighed. Actually, it doesn't matter if you ask or not. Since they are your parents, they will naturally think for you. Even if you do this, it will be useless. Their cultivation is not lower than yours, so you don't have to worry. Ling Qingyu saw that Su Yun's expression was a little down, and consoled him. Su Yun nodded his head. After a moment of silence, he spoke again. Old man, let me ask you one last question. I hope you can answer this one. Speak. If this old man doesn't know, then you'll have to wait 5 days. The old man said. 5 days is 5 days. Su Yun said, Please tell me, how can I bring him out of the Supreme Sect? Hearing that, the old man was startled, then asked anxiously, What? What door did you say? Supreme Sect. Su Yun repeated it seriously. With that said, the old man's wretched expression immediately disappeared without a trace, replaced by helplessness and heaviness. After a long while, he shook his head and sighed heavily. Difficult. It's difficult. Chapter 6:12. Hearing the old man's words, Su Yun's face did not look good. He knew it was difficult, but he did not understand how difficult it was. His parents had been working hard to save his sister from the Supreme Sect for so many years, but after so many years, they still did not succeed. It could be seen that the difficulty was beyond the understanding of ordinary people. Who do you want to save from the Supreme Sect? The old man was not in a hurry to answer Su Yun's question, but asked instead. My sister. How long has she been in the Supreme Sect? Su Yun shook his head. I don't know. Then do you know what kind of sect the Supreme Sect is? The old man asked again. Su Yun still shook his head. I don't know. You don't know anything, and you still want to fish someone out from there? This is simply wishful thinking. The old man shook his head and squinted his eyes, as if he was saying that Su Yun was too naive. Hearing the old man's words, Su Yun became even more curious about the Supreme Sect. He cupped his fists and bowed, his attitude becoming serious. Senior, please tell me in detail, what kind of sect is this Supreme Sect? Hey, you don't have to be so polite to me. You'll have to pay me for any questions you ask. The old man chuckled. You smelly old man, why are you always talking about money? You're covered in the stench of money. How annoying! Ling Qingyu snorted angrily. The old man glanced at her, but could not be bothered with her. In his eyes, only money was practical. I will pay the money as usual. Senior, just tell me, Su Yun said without a care. When the old man heard this, he immediately chuckled and spoke. The Supreme Sect is a very special sect. To what extent is it special? A large realm is almost the location of this sect. There are no other countries, sects or other powers. The entire realm is filled with people from this sect. Can you imagine how big this sect is? The Supreme Sect is like a bottomless well. Anyone who enters the Supreme Sect almost exclusively belongs to the people of the Supreme Sect. Everything in the world has nothing to do with them. Their family, friends, benefactors, enemies and so on are all forgotten by them. They will no longer chase after fame and fortune. They will no longer chase after the myriad of cultivation techniques in the world, those miraculous pills, the immortal God realm. In their hearts there was only one path, and that was the path that belonged exclusively to the Supreme Sect. Of course, this is not because they are willing to forget it, but because it is related to a mysterious profound qi that the Supreme Sect cultivates. The reason why the Supreme Sect is like this is because the people of the Supreme Sect specialize in cultivating a type of mystical profound qi. As long as they have this profound qi to protect themselves, the Supreme Sect can be said to be invincible in the world, and this profound qi is the limitless profound qi that is known as the Supreme Profound Qi by the people of the world. The Supreme Sect relies on this profound qi to stand at the peak of the world. It is just that, the power of this profound qi is incomparably vast, but I have heard from others that cultivating this profound qi is extremely easy to cause a person to lose their temperament, lose themselves, their body to collapse, and their soul to scatter. The higher the profound qi's cultivation, the stronger the possibility. There are countless people who have joined the Supreme Sect for this profound qi, but almost every year, there will be countless people who will die under this terrifying profound qi. The reason why your parents are so anxious to save your sister is also because they want to protect your sister's life, and not let her be killed by this profound qi. So, it's like this. Su Yun's face was extremely ugly. How could he have imagined that there was such a strange sect in this world? This was no different from a cult. Why would such a sect that goes against humanity still exist in this world? This kind of sect should have been annihilated a long time ago. Ling Qingyu said somewhat angrily. That's right. The old man nodded his head. Some people were bewitched and entered the Supreme Sect, but in the end, an accident happened during their cultivation, their bodies were destroyed, their souls were scattered, and they completely died. When the relatives and friends of these people received the news, they were naturally furious, and requested for justice from the Supreme Sect, but the Supreme Sect never cared, so they were attacked by a large number of sects and powers, but all of these sects and powers that attacked the Supreme Sect, without exception, were all destroyed by the Supreme Sect. Saying that, the old man sighed and shook his head. Do you not know the reason why so many people willingly joined the Supreme Sect? That was precisely because of the power of the limitless profound qi. The current mainstream profound qi attribute, or the unorthodox and special profound qi attribute, in front of the limitless profound qi, was like a grain of sand and Mount Tai, a firefly and the bright moon, which one of the strongest existences in the Supreme Sect did not break the continent with a wave of their hands and decide the life and death of the world. They are practically the gods of this world, such powerful existences, although cultivating is dangerous, but they do not cultivate for a long time. Maybe they only need to spend the time of an ordinary spirit cultivator to cultivate to the Sky Spirit Master, and they will be able to reach the strength of the Spirit Emperor. How can they not be jealous? This profound chi is actually this powerful. Su Yun was also shocked after hearing that. However, although they are able to cultivate the limitless profound chi to an extremely strong cultivation in a very short period of time, they are also constantly accompanied by huge risks in their cultivation. The limitless profound chi is like this: the higher the level of cultivation, the higher the possibility of the body collapsing and the soul dissipating. Since that's the case, then why do the experts of the Supreme Sect continue to cultivate? Are they not afraid of death? Su Yun immediately asked. The old man shook his head. Of course not, didn't I say it before? The reason why they joined the Supreme Sect before was to cultivate the limitless profound chi, increase their own strength, and make themselves stronger. However, after these people joined the Supreme Sect, they were affected by the limitless profound chi and the unique cultivation methods in the Supreme Sect, and slowly lost themselves, slowly abandoning everything. In their hearts, they no longer persisted in cultivating the Supreme Divine Tao, and in order to step into the realm of the Supreme Divine Tao, everyone in the Supreme Sect, regardless of whether it was the people who had just entered the sect or the pillars of the sect, would desperately cultivate this technique, until they died. In fact, every year, a large number of spirit cultivators would die miserably, and the people of the Supreme Sect would all die in the end, and they would all die at the hands of the limitless profound chi. Their average lifespan is much lower than ordinary spirit cultivators, and their way of dying is also extremely miserable, causing people to tremble in fear. Hearing that, Su Yun and Ling Qingyu were both shocked and sighed. What kind of strange profound chi was it, to be able to make people so intoxicated and addicted to it? No wonder father and mother insisted on saving my sister. If she were to continue staying in this sect, something would definitely happen to her. I'm afraid that father and mother did not allow me to participate because they were worried that I would be bewitched by the Supreme Sect. That's right. The old man nodded his head. In this world, the most tempting thing is cultivation. With cultivation, you can have everything, and in the hearts of the people of Supreme Sect, what they are most infatuated with is the Supreme Divine Tao. The biggest problem in saving someone from the Supreme Sect is not the power of the Supreme Sect, but whether or not this person is willing to leave. Many people hope to save their close friends and family from the Supreme Sect, but there is nothing they can do. If they don't want to leave, what else can they do? When the old man finished speaking, Su Yun fell into deep thought. His parents had worked hard for so many years, but they were still unable to save his sister. This was not because his parents were incapable, but because it was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Senior, do you have a way? Su Yun took a deep breath and asked seriously. Save him from the Supreme Sect? The old man's bean-sized eyes slanted, and he said, I think you should give up. Senior, is there no other way? This old man is very capable. Although my cultivation is not as strong as that of the Supreme Sect, it does not mean that I do not have any tricks up my sleeves. The old man's fingers began to tap on the skull staff again. Hearing that, Su Yun was immediately overjoyed and immediately said, Senior, please teach me. Collect the money. The old man began to rub his fingers again and chuckled. Money is not a problem. Su Yun patted his chest and said heroically, let me tell you, to save someone from the Supreme Sect, up until now, not many people have been able to do it, but I suggest that you do this and directly snatch it, and use force to snatch it back, and after snatching it back, use magic to search for the other party's memories, although it will cause the other party to lose their memories, but it is still better than letting the other party continue to stay in the Supreme Sect, and in the end, their souls will be destroyed, and their bodies will be destroyed. Although he would lose his memories, there was nothing he could do about it. Su Yun sighed. But senior, you also said that the supreme sect is strong. How can I forcefully seize it? The other party was a sect, and a super sect at that. The size of this sect had overturned all of his previous knowledge. What could he do against such a powerful existence? If the other party was alone, he might still have a chance. Kid, don't be too dejected. People must have confidence. If they don't even have confidence, then what else can they do? Let me tell you, this limitless profound chi is actually not absolutely invincible. There is actually a divine treasure in this world that can break it. If you can obtain this divine treasure, the people of the supreme sect should not be considered absolute existences in front of you, but it is not easy to obtain this divine treasure. In the past, there were many people who hoped to obtain this divine treasure and destroy the supreme sect, but none of them succeeded. Su Yun frowned. What is this thing? It's called the Clear Sky Holy Robe. Before the Haotian Emperor fell, he used his own blood essence to refine it. The Haotian Emperor wanted to use this holy robe to protect his own corpse and seal the profound strength in his body, so that he could reincarnate back into his old body and inherit his divine power. However, the holy robe was stolen, the Haotian Emperor completely disappeared, and the whereabouts of this holy robe were unknown. It was said that it had appeared in the sword world before. If you are willing to pay me another 20 million profound coin, I can calculate the location of this holy robe for you, but this location is not very accurate. As long as it is a divine object, it will have divine power. After I use this forbidden technique, it will be affected by the divine power of the divine object, and thus deviate. How about it? Kid, do you want to know the location of the Saint Robe? The old man chuckled. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.